Chapter 970. Battling by Ife. Every single member who saw this began to pale. Their 4 powerful saint rulers had been slain so easily. They were greatly affected, and their souls were deeply struck with fear. In that moment, all the members of the Extinguishing Alliance felt like the shade of death had encased them. Although they had another 23 saint rulers, they did not feel safe in any way. Then, Jianchen looked toward the 23 saint rulers after killing off 4. He slowly raised the emperor armament as it shone with a surging dark light. An energy of destruction filled the surroundings, as if roaring flames of death had encased the region. It caused the saint rulers to feel death from the bottom of their hearts. This was a power that could make them tremble, a power that made resistance impossible to even consider. The saint rulers were all frightened as they constantly retreated in the air. Their gazes toward Jianchen were filled with dread. Jianchen, this has nothing to do with us. It really doesn't have anything to do with us. The only reason we attacked Flame City was due to Bai Jian's temptations. Bai Jian is the main culprit, a saint ruler said with a trembling voice. Faced against a saint king, none of them even dared to flee, because saint kings could rip open space gates. There was nowhere they could run off to. Where is Bai Jian? Jianchen's voice was icy cold and filled with killing intent. He's in the imperial city of the Felicity Empire, a saint ruler said hurriedly. Meanwhile, he prayed secretly. He hoped that Jianchen would go to the Felicity Empire for revenge and leave this place. That way, they would have plenty of time to flee with their people and avoid this calamity. Bai Jian, it doesn't matter where you hide, I will never let you go. But before I go to the Felicity Kingdom, let me finish off all of you first, Jianchen growled. He slowly pointed his emperor armament toward the saint rulers as killing intent spilled from him without restraint. It caused all the saint rulers to pale in fright. Jianchen, it really has nothing to do with us. It's all due to Bai Jian. He's in control of everything. We're just his chess pieces, the saint rulers constantly attempted to explain. They no longer dared to resist Jianchen after personally witnessing the deaths of 4 saint rulers, even though they had an advantage in numbers. Bai Jian will die with all of you, including the Extinguishing Alliance. I will not let any of you go, Jianchen said coldly before charging at the 23 saint rulers. But at that very moment, the space before Jianchen began to distort violently. A space gate suddenly formed, and before a person could even emerge, a tremendous aura appeared first. Jianchen came to a halt and stared fixedly at the space gate. A cold light flickered in his eyes. The saint rulers all sighed a breath of relief. To them, it seemed like Jianchen still possessed the winged tiger god, so he was a target of the 10 protector clans. Another saint king had split open the space and arrived, and he would definitely deal with Jianchen in order to obtain the winged tiger god. He would keep Jianchen busy. Under the gazes of Jianchen and the saint rulers, a white-robed, middle-aged man who seemed slightly pale stepped out. It's Senior Bai Ife. Fantastic, Senior Bai Ife has actually come, the saint rulers immediately exclaimed joyfully when they saw this man. They became ecstatic. Jianchen's eyes narrowed abruptly as his killing intent skyrocketed. He sneered, Bai Ife, you sure have come at the right time. It's just about time I resolve our enmity from all those years ago. Bai Ife stared coldly at Jianchen as disdain flooded his eyes. He sneered, Jianchen, I suspected that you would return one day long ago, so I left a soul imprint on you. I never thought my anticipations would hold true. You really have returned. It's about time I take revenge for you injuring my soul. Reaching this point, Bai Ife's eyes narrowed violently. His face changed drastically as he exclaimed whilst pointing at Jianchen, How is this possible? Why is your presence so powerful? How did you reach Saint King in just a few years? Disbelief flooded Bai Ife's face. His heart began to churn. He was perturbed. In the next moment, Bai Ife suddenly looked toward Jianchen's sword. His face changed once again, this time filled with shock. He cried out uncontrollably, That's an emperor armament. You actually obtained an emperor armament. Jianchen could not help but sneer as he saw how shocked Bai Ife was. Bai Ife, it really was a pity that I failed to kill you back then. But today will be your death. No one can save you. Bai Yifei quickly suppressed his shock from Jian Chen's arrogant words. The light in his eyes flickered as he quickly calmed down and growled, Jian Chen, your presence as a Saint King is probably completely due to the Emperor armament. You're still a Saint Ruler right now. Do you really think that you can defeat me with just an Emperor armament? You're deluding yourself. Saint Kings are far stronger than you can imagine. I'll show you the true might of a Saint King today. Once I kill you, your Emperor armament will be mine and I will hand the Winged Tiger God to the Yuan sect of the 10 Protector clans in exchange for some medicines that can mend the soul. Bai Yifei's eyes burned with greed as he gazed at the Emperor armament. He had no clue about Jian Chen's true strength right now, so he looked down on Jian Chen by quite a lot. He also viewed the Emperor armament as his own item already. Jian Chen smiled disdainfully and said, You still don't have the ability to take the Emperor armament from my hands. We'll know after we try. Bai Yifei was filled with confidence. He too refused to believe that Jian Chen could reach Saint King in a few short years, which was why he thought that Jian Chen's powerful aura was completely due to the Emperor armament. Tremendous Saint force surged out from Bai Yifei. This was the power of a Saint King. It was extremely great, enough to cause the surrounding space to shake violently. At the same time, invisible world force quickly gathered toward him, revolving around Bai Yifei. Jian Chen, I'll show you my strength. Bai Yifei's expression became vicious and he immediately produced a battle cry. The Saint force and the world force around him fused together in that very moment, transforming into a huge finger that shot toward Jian Chen with lightning speed. The finger was 10 meters long and half a meter wide. It shot through the air as it radiated with a devastating aura, slashing through space. Jian Chen's cold smile curled up higher and higher. He looked at the finger nonchalantly before suddenly swinging out with his Emperor armament. A meter-long black sword chi shot out. The sword chi radiated with an aura of destruction as it shot toward the huge finger. A massive crack formed wherever the sword chi passed by, reducing it to a region of darkness. Boom! Jian Chen's sword chi collided with Bai Yifei's huge finger in midair, while the violent residual energy immediately began to sweep through the surroundings. It caused the surrounding space to tremble violently. Even the earth below seemed to quake, causing mountains to collapse. Bai Yifei became rather stern and he growled, I never thought that the Emperor armament would be so powerful that a Saint Ruler can display such might. If that Emperor armament enters my hands, my strength would definitely reach an unimaginable level. Toward the end, the greed in Bai Yifei's eyes thickened. At that moment, a black streak of light suddenly emerged. The sword chi did not completely disperse after collided with Bai Yifei's finger and instead surged out from the ripples of energy in the air. It continued onward without a reduction in force. Bai Yifei's eyes narrowed suddenly, and he cried out, Crap! Immediately, energy began to surge before him, instantly condensing into a 3-meter-wide round shield to block the sword chi. The sword chi completely locked onto Bai Yifei, so he could only take it head-on now. Boom! The black sword chi collided with Bai Yifei's circular shield and produced a terrifying sound. The sword chi was far more powerful than Bai Yifei had imagined, so the shield condensed from Saint Force and World Force failed to endure it. It shattered loudly, while the sword chi had finally lost all of its power after breaking through 2 obstructions. It dispersed in the air. Even though this was the case, Bai Yifei was thrown back violently by its force. Blood sprayed uncontrollably from his mouth, falling toward the ground as a bloody mist. Bai Yifei flew for several dozen kilometers before finally stabilizing himself. He stared at Jian Chen in shock as disbelief overwhelmed his eyes. He said with difficulty, How is this possible? How are you this strong? Did you really reach Saint King? Even at now, Bai Yifei still struggled to accept this. Jian Chen's strength had grown from an ant's level to a level where he could heavily injure him. This was just shocking on an otherworldly scale. Thick killing intent poured from Jian Chen as he called out coldly, Bai Yifei, I shall be taking your life today. As he said this, Jian Chen charged toward him threateningly with the Emperor armament. Bai Yifei revealed an ugly expression. A piece of jade instantly appeared in his hand and he crushed it directly, before slowly raising his hand. He let the wild winds scatter the jade dust as he sneered, "Jianchen, your strength has really exceeded my imaginations, but I have already alerted the 10 protector clans. Before the protector clans, there is only death no matter how strong you are. If you don't run now, it'll be too late." Chapter 971, Resisting the Protector Clans, 1. Jianchen snickered at Bai Yifei's attempt to scare him off. "Bai Yifei, even if all 10 protector clans gather here today, they won't be able to take my life. Die." Jianchen sped up toward Bai Yifei, traversing the distance between the two of them in the blink of an eye. The Emperor armament stabbed toward him like a black bolt of lightning. Bai Yifei was already heavily injured and could no longer function as well as before. Sensing the force of Jianchen's strike, his heart immediately sank. However, he could not afford to move his arms slowly. A huge sword immediately appeared in his hand, and he placed it before himself to block the incoming strike. Jianchen's weapon directly struck the huge sword before Bai Yifei. With the screeching of metal, the terrifying force knocked Bai Yifei backward once again. He immediately vomited blood a few more times. This time, he became even paler, without a shred of blood left in his face. Although Bai Yifei was also a Saint King, he was not Jianchen's opponent with his current strength, as Jianchen could display the power of a 7th heavenly layer Saint King with the Emperor armament. God damn it, how did Jianchen's strength reach such a terrifying level in such a short amount of time? I don't even have the power to put up a fight. Bai Yifei was astounded inside. His gaze toward Jianchen was filled with fear. Jianchen grasped the Emperor armament tightly in his right hand as icy killing intent flickered in his eyes. With a slight movement of his body, he turned into a blur as he continued his pursuit of Bai Yifei. Bai Yifei reacted with a change in expression once again. From the two clashes, Jianchen's strength already had him terrified, where a thought of utter defeat had sprouted in his mind. He immediately lost all interest in the battle when he saw Jianchen chase up once again. He was prepared to rip open a space gate and leave. At this very moment, the space several kilometers away began to tremble and a space gate quickly formed. Immediately, a tremendous presence surged from within. With the appearance of the space gate, Bai Yifei became delighted. He gave up on his plan to flee and called out, "Ling Yuanzi, Jianchen has returned and the winged tiger god is on his shoulder. If you don't come over immediately, he'll flee. The person who should be fleeing would be you, not me. Just a mere Ling Yuanzi is not enough to scare me off," Jianchen said icily. He paid no attention to the space gate as he stared tightly at Bai Yifei. As he approached him, he stabbed out with the Emperor armament with no hesitation. Jianchen's strike seemed to surpass the limitations of time and space, arriving before Bai Yifei in an instant. Bai Yifei's pupils narrowed to the size of pins. He could clearly see the dark sword expanding rapidly as it made its way toward him, while the shade of death now covered his head like a cloud. Madness appeared in Bai Yifei's eyes as he poured everything he had into blocking with his saint weapon. However, he had been struck by 2 heavy blows already, so his strength had decreased drastically. When the saint weapon was struck by the Emperor armament, it was knocked away by the powerful force while the Emperor armament continued onward with no reduction in force. It arrived before Bai Yifei's forehead. At this very moment, a white-robed, ruddy old man emerged from the space gate. He was a great elder of the Yuan sect, Ling Yuanzi. Ling Yuanzi saw that Bai Yifei was in danger as soon as he emerged from the space gate. His complexion immediately changed and he cried out, "Stop!" However, Jianchen turned a deaf ear to his words. The Emperor armament stabbed mercilessly into Bai Yifei's forehead. SHWT. The Emperor armament impaled Bai Yifei's head. His soul seemed so weak before the might of the Emperor armament, unable to even withstand a single blow. His soul was directly wiped out. Bai Yifei's eyes became dull as life receded from them quickly. He was no longer able to remain in the air, falling down in the same posture he had, standing upright. Bai Yifei. Ling Yuanzi produced a miserable cry. He had become utterly enraged when he saw this, immediately flying toward Bai Yifei's corpse in an attempt to catch it. A cold light flickered through Jianchen's eyes. With a jolt, the sword in his hand stabbed toward Ling Yuanzi out of nowhere. This strike was not Jian Chen's full strength, but it contained the might of a sixth heavenly layer Saint King. Ling Yuanzi bellowed and his saint weapon immediately materialized. He too swung out, producing a blade qi. Jian Chen's sword qi collided with the blade qi and produced a deafening boom. The blade qi was dispersed immediately, reduced to dense world force that dissipated into the surroundings, while Jian Chen's sword qi weakened slightly as well. However, it continued toward Ling Yuanzi like a bolt of lightning. Ling Yuanzi's eyes narrowed and he became quite stern. The curved blade in his hand erupted with light and his arm jolted. It immediately multiplied into 2 other blades and 3 blade qi shot out at the same time. It flew toward the black sword qi in a triangular fashion. Boom! Ling Yuanzi's 2 attacks finally dispersed Jian Chen's sword qi. Ling Yuanzi no longer paid any attention to Bai Yifei's corpse after being struck with that attack. Instead, he immediately began to glare at Jian Chen in midair. He was extremely grim. That's an emperor armament. Jian Chen, I never thought you'd obtain an emperor armament from your trip to the Sea Realm. Ling Yuanzi recognized that it was an emperor armament with a single glance, and he immediately revealed an ugly expression. As a great elder of a protector clan, Ling Yuanzi was knowledgeable. It was not the first time he had seen an emperor armament, so he was naturally very familiar with the might of one. Ling Yuanzi, when you pursued me all those years ago, I almost died in your hands. I shall be taking revenge for that today and slay you with the emperor armament. That will be your outcome, Jian Chen said coldly. Ling Yuanzi quickly glanced past the white tiger on Jian Chen's shoulder. Jian Chen, do you really think that you can contend with the protector clans with just an emperor armament? You are just too naive. You are indeed stronger than me right now, but not only will you fail to kill me today, you'll have to obediently give my Yuan sect the winged tiger god. As he said that, a piece of jade had already appeared silently in Ling Yuanzi's hands. He immediately crushed it, notifying the other great elders of the sect. Jian Chen immediately noticed Ling Yuanzi's minute movement and a sliver of cold light flashed through his eyes. He yelled, Ling Yuanzi, since you're calling for reinforcements, I'll just kill you before they come. Jian Chen charged toward Ling Yuanzi with the emperor armament in hand. It shone with a blinding dark light as an aura of destruction filled the surroundings. Tremendous ripples of energy shook the area around them, causing the space to distort into a blurry mess. This time, Jian Chen struck out as hard as he could. He did not hold back at all, completely displaying his strength equal to a 7th heavenly layer Saint King. He wanted to end the battle quickly. He planned to kill Ling Yuanzi before he could resist. Ling Yuanzi's expression finally changed when he sensed the might from Jian Chen. Given that he felt pressured from Jian Chen before, he now found Jian Chen to be utterly chilling. This is impossible. How can his strength become so terrifying in just a few years? Even with the emperor armament, he couldn't have become this powerful. Just how does he cultivate? Shock overwhelmed Ling Yuanzi as he became rather pale. Jian Chen's long hair and clothes danced in the wind. Everywhere he passed seemed to become pitch black because of the chaotic force. He used the illusory flash, traversing several kilometers in an instant to arrive before Ling Yuanzi. Wielding the sword in one hand, he stabbed toward Ling Yuanzi with a lightning speed. The strike was ordinary, yet it made Ling Yuanzi feel like he could not avoid it at all. It was like no matter where he dodged, the strike would still arrive and that the only way out was to forcefully break through it. A gleam of light exploded in Ling Yuanzi's eyes as extremely powerful energy surged out wildly from his body. In that instant, a set of awe-inspiring armor had condensed on his body. At the same time, his curved blade pointed toward the sky. The wind and clouds in the sky immediately began to change and a great pressure descended on the region. It locked tightly onto Jian Chen. Blade formation of the wind and clouds. Ling Yuanzi bellowed. Suddenly, his blade disappeared into the void, as if it had become one with the surroundings. The wind and clouds in the sky seemed to be driven by some force, beginning to fuse together and condense into curved blades that gathered before Ling Yuanzi. In the blink of an eye, a dense wall of curved blades had gathered before him and every single one was of the same size. It seemed illusionary yet tangible, completely condensed from air and clouds. They all radiated with powerful ripples of energy. Go! Ling Yuanzi extended a finger toward Jianchen. Immediately, the curved blades shot toward Jianchen, surrounding and enveloping him as it constantly rotated. It formed something like a grinder as it constantly chopped at Jianchen. At the same time, the wind and clouds above Ling Yuanzi churned and an even larger blade was condensed. It was 1,000 meters long and several dozen meters wide, extending directly into the sky. It radiated with a powerful force, causing the sky to tremble. Jianchen, prepare to die. Ling Yuanzi's lips curled into a sneer, and with a thought, the huge blade above him began to fall as it chopped toward Jianchen. The space below was shattered with its descent, reduced to a patch of darkness and void. The huge blade fell extremely fast, arriving above Jianchen in the blink of an eye. Ling Yuanzi already bore the smile of victory. He seemed to have already seen the moment where Jianchen passed away. At this moment, Jianchen's icy voice rang out, "Ling Yuanzi, the power of your battle skill is impressive, but it's a pity that it's only a pseudo-saint tier battle skill and is not the real deal." A destructive energy began to radiate from the center of the blades as the voice rang out and a black light flashed. The formation was immediately broken through, reduced to a wild tempest and wisps of water vapor. Jianchen emerged unharmed in the air, remaining calm and composed. He stared nonchalantly at the huge blade and pointed his emperor armament to the sky. All his power had completely erupted forth as a huge sword chi shot out from the emperor armament. It surged into the air like an enraged dragon. Boom! A deafening sound rang out as the two forces collided. The wild residual energy destroyed the surroundings, causing the space to collapse and mountains to fall. The entire world seemed to quake violently. The huge blade was broken through and gradually dispersed into the surroundings, while Ling Yuanzi's joyful expression vanished as well. His face was now sunken. Chapter 972, Resisting the Protector Clans, 2. Jianchen, I never thought you would become so powerful after just a few short years, growled Ling Yuanzi as he panicked inside. He looked forward to when the people from his sect would arrive. Jianchen said nothing and continued his threatening charge toward Ling Yuanzi with the emperor armament in hand. His glare was filled with dense killing intent. Ling Yuanzi became extremely grim as he watched Jianchen charge toward him. The current Jianchen was definitely enough to threaten his life. If the people from the Yuan sect still failed to arrive, it would be almost certain death if he continued his one-on-one fight with Jianchen. Ling Yuanzi gritted his teeth as if he had finally made up his mind to do something. He said hoarsely, "Jianchen, I'll spare you for today. When we meet next time, you will be begging for mercy." With that, he swung his hand and directly cut open a region of space. He formed a space gate with his powers as a Saint King, planning to flee. "Don't you dare run, Ling Yuanzi!" Jianchen bellowed. With a swing of his emperor armament, a great sword chi shot toward the space gate. The black sword chi split the air. Wherever it passed by, a pitch-black crack in space would appear as well as. The sword chi quickly flew toward Ling Yuanzi's space gate. Boom! The sword chi struck the space gate and violent residual energy shook up the surroundings. The space in a radius of 5 meters had completely collapsed, turning into a pitch-black region. The space gate was also greatly affected by the shaken space, directly collapsing and chopping off Ling Yuanzi's path of escape. Ling Yuanzi was pale white. He was a great elder of a grand protector clan, yet he had to flee before a member of the younger generation. That was humiliating enough, and now his space gate had even been destroyed by the opponent, severing any chances for him to escape. His face currently burned with humiliation. Not only was he forced to flee by a younger person, he had even lost his ability to run before them. He found this to be utterly terrifying. Killing intent burned within Ling Yuanzi as he stared coldly at Jianchen. Determination flashed through his eyes and he bellowed, "Jianchen, if my pseudo-saint tier battle skill can't kill you, then taste my real battle skill." He was left without any choice. All he could do was go in for a deathmatch now. He had been completely frightened by Jianchen's strength. His understanding of Jianchen was extremely limited and he had no idea that Jianchen's comprehension of the mysteries of the world remained at the 7th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. If he had chosen to run using speed, Jianchen would not have been able to catch up at all. An extremely great energy emerged from Ling Yuanzi, causing his clothes and hair to flutter despite the absence of wind. Suddenly, a tremendous pressure descended grandly onto the surroundings, turning the region in a radius of several dozen kilometers into a blur. The pressure seemed to have frozen the area. The pressure descended layer by layer from the sky, wrapping around Jianchen like chains. It seemed to want to immobilize him. Jianchen bellowed, and the chaotic Niden in his dantian began to produce strands of chaotic force that filled every corner of his body. He pushed the chaotic body to its utmost limits, before suddenly jolting. He broke through the pressure's immobilization, causing the space around him to tremble violently. As soon as he broke free, a tremendous ripple of energy appeared before him. A huge finger had appeared out of nowhere in front of Ling Yuanzi. The finger was completely condensed out of energy. It was 5 meters long and half a meter thick. It radiated with a terrifying pressure, shaking up the surrounding space to the point that it distorted and became blurry. Jianchen finally became rather stern. Ling Yuanzi had completely charged up his Saint tier battle skill. With his strength as a 5th heavenly layer Saint King, it possessed the might of a 7th heavenly layer Saint King. This was enough to threaten Jianchen. Jianchen, I refuse to believe that you can take my battle skill head-on and come out unharmed. That Ling Yuanzi called out before suddenly pointing at Jianchen. Immediately, the huge finger ripped a hole in space and shot toward Jianchen with a devastating pressure. Jianchen sucked in a deep breath and charged forward instead of retreating. He fearlessly charged up to the giant finger on his own initiative, and his emperor armament began to expand. In the blink of an eye, it became 10 meters long, and he stabbed out toward the giant finger. Boom! The emperor armament collided with the giant finger with the violent boom. The terrifyingly powerful ripples of energy directly ripped through space, reducing the region into darkness. Even the sun in the sky dulled. Jianchen began to retreat rapidly under the violent energy, shooting backward uncontrollably. However, the giant finger had yet to dissipate before him, continuing toward Jianchen with no reduction in speed. However, it had already shrunk by 1/10. Jianchen bellowed out once again, and the giant emperor armament in his hands swept through the sky as a beautiful dark streak, striking the giant finger heavily once again. With another boom, the giant finger shrunk by another 1/10 from Jianchen's attack. The violent energy knocked back Jianchen again, causing him to speed up as he flew backward. His clothes were reduced to shreds, revealing the golden silk mail underneath. The giant finger possessed the power of a 7th heavenly layer Saint King. It was equal to Jianchen's strength, or maybe even weaker a little. Despite this, it was still a Saint tier battle skill in the end. It was no ordinary attack, so unless the disparity between the two was drastic, it could not be nullified so easily. Jianchen bellowed out several times, striking out 10 more times with all his force before finally dissipating the Saint tier battle skill into energy that surged in the surroundings. He remained uninjured as he had the chaotic body, but he was in a messy shape. Why, you actually blocked by Saint tier battle skill perfectly. How is that possible? Ling Yuanzi was stunned as he stared at Jianchen from afar. He was dumbstruck, while the shock he experienced had already reached its utmost limits. He knew exactly how powerful his Saint tier battle skill was. Even when a 7th heavenly layer Saint King faced up against it, they would receive some wounds, or even be heavily injured. Meanwhile, Jianchen's personal strength was nowhere near the 7th heavenly layer. However, Jianchen was still able to nullify his attack easily just through the use of the emperor armament and sustained no injuries. This was unbelievable. Ling Yuanzi, even your Saint tier battle skill cannot injure me. I'd like to see what else you have up your sleeve now, Jianchen laughed wildly. Using the illusory flash, he charged toward Ling Yuanzi as a blur and began fighting him up close. Ling Yuanzi gritted his teeth as he endured, hoping that he could last just a little longer until the reinforcements arrived. However, the difference in their strength was just too great, so he was injured after just a few bouts. His ribs were crushed by a kick from Jianchen, while his entire chest caved in. His organs had all ruptured, and the wound on his neck was even worse. Half his neck was severed, If he did not dodge in time, he would have probably been decapitated. A space gate suddenly appeared high up in the sky as Ling Yuanzi was in the middle of danger. Immediately, several tremendous presences emerged. The reinforcements from the Yuan sect had arrived. Ling Yuanzi became delighted. He no longer paid attention to any dignity he should have been preserving and cried out for help, "Yangzi, save me!" Ling Yuanzi's miserable voice passed through the space gate clearly, causing it to condense even faster. Jian Chen's heart sank slightly. He knew that he did not have much time left to kill Ling Yuanzi, so he immediately struck out as fast as he could. The sword cut through the air, targeting the center of Ling Yuanzi's eyebrows. Ling Yuanzi immediately used his curved blade to block. Although he managed to repel Jian Chen's life-threatening blow, it worsened his injuries, causing him to constantly vomit blood. Jian Chen's gaze became icy cold. Without any hesitation, a second strike followed. The attack broke through the limitations of space and stabbed toward the center of Ling Yuanzi's eyebrows once again. Ling Yuanzi's pupils narrowed to the size of needles. Unwillingness to give in flickered through his eyes. He was unable to block this lightning speed strike. At this moment, the space gate stabilized. A white-robed, ruddy old man stepped out in front. His expression changed immediately as soon as he stepped out as he saw Ling Yuanzi in the middle of danger. He called out, "Stop!" He extended a finger and a force tore through the air. It broke through the limitations of space and descended upon Jian Chen in an instant, viciously knocking away the Emperor armament that stabbed toward Ling Yuanzi. The Emperor armament was knocked away as soon as it came into contact with Ling Yuanzi's skin. The force from the tiny movement contained unbelievable power, jolting Jian Chen's arm to the point that it became numb. Jian Chen was shocked. He knew the person that had just come possessed strength he could not contend against, but he felt no fear. He stabbed out once again with the Emperor armament in an attempt to kill off Ling Yuanzi. "How dare you!" Yangzi became furious. He swung his sleeves and the wind began to blow violently. A whirlwind that connected the sky and the ground suddenly formed, whistling toward Jian Chen with an earth-piercing sound. Jian Chen's Emperor armament had already stabbed through Ling Yuanzi's forehead. The whirlwind arrived just as part of the sword had entered. The high-speed wind was like sharp blades, constantly chopping at Jian Chen's body. It caused Jian Chen to feel pain all over and white marks appeared all over him. The violent wind had also pulled his body backward, preventing the Emperor armament from stabbing any further into Ling Yuanzi's head. Instead, it was slowly drawn out, failing to impale Ling Yuanzi's soul. Jian Chen was unable to kill him off completely. However, Ling Yuanzi had still suffered unimaginable injuries. He shrieked out uncontrollably and the top of his head suddenly exploded. A dull soul flew out from within, quickly streaking toward the furious Yangzi. Ling Yuanzi had actually abandoned his body and fled in soul form. As soon as he fled his body, his head exploded loudly. Slivers of black energy that radiated with a destructive aura leaked out from his head, reducing it to pieces. Jian Chen found it harder and harder to regain his stability under the wild whirlwind. When he saw Ling Yuanzi's soul flee, he immediately panicked and swung his sword. He produced a powerful sword qi that ripped through the air, shooting toward Ling Yuanzi's soul. Blood drained from Yangzi's face as killing intent flickered in his eyes. He grabbed at the empty space with his left hand, containing the region of space and grasping Ling Yuanzi's soul. At the same time, he formed a palm with his right hand and struck toward Jian Chen. Chapter 973, Resisting the Protector Clans, 3. Yangzi's palm strike immediately caused the space before him to collapse. A half-a-meter-wide palm immediately condensed, shooting toward Jian Chen as a blur. Jian Chen was extremely stern. A vast pressure had already tightly locked onto him. It did not come from Yangzi, but the casual strike was from him. Jian Chen actually felt the notion of utter defeat flash through his head when he faced up against this palm strike completely condensed from energy. It was as if he could not avoid it no matter where he dodged or hid. Jian Chen's heart shivered and he grabbed the Emperor armament with both of his hands. He raised the weapon high up and swung out several times as hard as he could in that moment. Several powerful sword qi shot through the sky, shooting toward Yangzi's palm strike in a row. Yangzi's attack contained an unimaginable power. When the sword chi collided with the palm, they all dispersed while the palm continued at the same speed toward Jianchen. However, it did become weaker after bursting through all the sword chi. Bang! The palm condensed from energy struck Jianchen mercilessly. The palm broke through his chaotic body immediately, and even the golden silk mail failed to block anything. His chest caved in deeply and all his ribs all shattered. Jianchen sputtered and blood leaked from the corner of his lips. He flew backward, only stopping after traveling several kilometers. Jianchen was shocked. Yangzi was far more powerful than he had ever imagined. Just a casual palm strike of his was still so powerful, even after being weakened by the sword chi. Jianchen felt utterly astounded. At this moment, the remaining great elders of the Yuan sect emerged with a group of saint rulers from the space gate. They were all surprised when they saw Yangzi holding Ling Yuanzi's soul, but fury soon replaced their surprise. They all glared viciously at Jianchen. Ling Yuanzi was injured by you. Are you sick of living? How dare you injure a great elder of our protector Yuan sect? The leading great elder yelled furiously at Jianchen. Dignity filled his voice. He's the Jianchen we have been searching for. He has returned with the winged tiger god, said Ling Yuanzi's soul. Its voice was extremely weak. What? He's Jianchen? All of them were shocked by Ling Yuanzi's words. They all looked toward Jianchen in disbelief. How is this possible? Jianchen is clearly just a saint ruler, but the person before us is a saint king. He can't be Jianchen. Ling Yuanzi, have you mixed him up with another person? A great elder asked in disbelief. He refused to believe that there would be someone who could reach Saint King from the third heavenly layer of Saint Ruler in just a few years. It's him. It can't be wrong. It was he who cast God's descent all those years ago and heavily wounded my soul. Even if I were reduced to ashes, I can still recognize him. Look, that little beast on his shoulder is the winged tiger god, said Ling Yuanzi. All of them focused their attention on the white tiger on Jianchen's shoulder. The white tiger remained standing there with balance as it stared back at them with its bright eyes. Its fur had been messed up by the violent ripples of residual energy, but it was unharmed. Jianchen silently circulated the chaotic force in his body. The deviant level recovery rate of the chaotic body came into play beautifully at this moment, allowing the wounds on his chest to heal quickly. The shattered bones began to regrow quickly. Jianchen could not help but smile coldly when he noticed that everyone was looking at the white tiger. A while later, a gleam of light flashed through Yuanzi's eyes. He had finally confirmed the white tiger's identity and his eyes began to burn with greed. I can feel a vague pressure from it. It really is the winged tiger god. It can't be wrong. All the experts from the Yuan sect became ecstatic when they heard this. They all looked toward the white tiger avariciously, as if it was not a magical beast but a priceless treasure. Fantastic! I never thought it would be us who would see the winged tiger god first. The winged tiger god now belongs to our Yuan sect. Jianchen, you may have an emperor armament, but you're not our opponent. Hand over the winged tiger god obediently. Don't force us to move against you. A great elder laughed aloud, as if the winged tiger god already belonged to their group. A disdainful expression appeared on Jianchen's face. He pointed his emperor armament toward the great elder who spoke and said provocatively, "If you want the winged tiger god, come get it. But you probably aren't capable enough to do that. You arrogant brat." The great elder erupted in rage and charged up to challenge Jianchen to a battle. However, he was stopped by Yangzi. Yangzi slowly stepped forward as he gazed at Jianchen calmly. Ling Fengzi, you're not his opponent. The matters regarding the winged tiger god are too important, so we need to take it before the other protector clans arrive. We can't waste too much time. Let me do it. Yangzi took a step forward as soon as he finished speaking and the space below his feet rippled. He suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was over 10 kilometers away from Jianchen. He extended his arm toward the white tiger on Jianchen's shoulder. A sneer formed on Jianchen's lips, and the Octotera Divine Hall immediately appeared before him. It blocked Yangzi's hand. The sudden appearance of the divine hall surprised Yangzi, and his hand forcefully stopped in midair. Surprise flashed through his eyes as he cried out with a deep voice, "That's a Saint Emperor's divine hall. I never thought that you'd also obtain a divine hall on top of your emperor armament." Not only did the sudden appearance of the divine hall surprise Yangzi, it also shocked the other great elders and experts from the Yuan sect very much. Jian Chen paid no attention to their surprise and made the Octaterra Divine Hall expand suddenly under the control of his mind. It reached a length of 3,000 meters in that very moment, hanging in the sky like a dark cloud. Jian Chen entered the Divine Hall with the white tiger, and a loud voice boomed from the hall. "People of the Yuan sect, I'd like to see how you take the winged tiger god from me today. Bring it on, all of you. I'll take you all on at the same time." Jian Chen sounded extremely arrogant. It was an open provocation to the Yuan sect's pride. Yangzi became pale and roared, "Jian Chen, don't think you can look down on others just because you have a divine hall. Do you really think that I can't do anything to you? Piss off." A tremendous energy surged from his body, and a 300-meter wide palm condensed before him. It struck the divine hall heavily. Boom! The divine hall immediately began to shake violently but regained its stability very quickly. Yangzi's grand attack had failed to damage the divine hall at all. The Octaterra Divine Hall flew over Yangzi's head at this very moment and directly began to descend. The giant divine hall fell quickly, wanting to squash Yangzi underneath. Yangzi became enraged after realizing what Jian Chen intended. He could dodge, but his arrogance and pride as one of the strongest experts on the Tianyuan continent could not bear the thought of running. Yangzi roared at the sky as energy surged around him. The space distorted and warped, while the energy of the world and the world force in a radius of 5,000 kilometers began to gather unceasingly. In the end, it formed a 300-meter wide palm that struck the bottom of the divine hall. He tried to knock away the divine hall with force alone. However, even the hall elders of the Serpent God Hall could do nothing to the Octaterra Divine Hall. Although Yangzi was on par with a hall elder, he was only one person. As such, how could he stop the divine hall from descending? He was directly squashed downward, forced closer and closer to the ground. The other great elders saw this from afar, and their faces all darkened. One of them called out immediately, "Let's go help Yangzi." The great elders and saint rulers did not hesitate anymore, quickly flying under the divine hall. They wanted to stop the divine hall with their combined power. However, they still failed even though everyone was working together. The divine hall continued downward with no reduction in speed, but this time with a big group of people underneath it. In the end, the divine hall smashed into the ground heavily. Boom! The earth began to quake violently as thick cracks covered the surrounding mountains. A huge ditch formed at the location the divine hall had smashed into, while the divine hall itself had completely embedded itself deeply in the ground. The divine hall forced all the experts from the Yuan sect into the ground, including the great elders. The ground several kilometers away suddenly erupted and all the people emerged. They had tunneled their way out. However, they were currently dirty and in a horrible shape, covered in soil. Although they did not sustain any horrible injuries, they were humiliated. This was even worse than killing them. All the people of the Yuan sect felt humiliated when they were forced into such a horrible shape by a junior, as they were one of the great protector clans of the continent. To them, this would be a permanent stain on their dignity. Jian Chen. Yangzi was no longer able to remain calm as he roared out. His voice was filled with rage and killing intent. At that moment, his anger had reached the utmost limit. Tui tui tui. Jian Chen, I, Ling Fengzi, will be taking your life today no matter what. Ling Fengzi spat out the pieces of grass in his mouth as he roared furiously at Jian Chen. His eyes were completely bloodshot. Chapter 974, Resisting the Protector Clans, 4. With a rumble, the Octaterra Divine Hall slowly rose up from the ground, taking to the air once again. Jian Chen's voice rang out thunderously, booming through the surroundings. If you want to kill me, come. I'd like to see exactly who can kill me today. Jian Chen was unwilling to let up. With the Divine Hall protecting him, he had no reason to be cautious around the protector clans. He continued to use the divine hall to squash them into the earth like before. All of them became utterly pale as they trembled in rage. They were so angry that they became silent. They were respected and worshipped by all the people on the continent. In all these years, they had never been bullied into such a horrible position. Yangzi struggled to remain calm as he roared out, "Jianchen, don't think you're the only one with the Saint Emperor's divine hall. Great elders, let's bring out the divine hall." As he spoke, Yangzi swung his hand and a spatial crack immediately appeared. It formed a space gate to a part of the Yuan sect. Soon afterward, a suction force appeared from his hand and a palm-sized divine hall that sat on an altar immediately flew out. It landed on Yangzi's hand and quickly expanded, reaching a length of 3,000 meters in the blink of an eye. Yangzi then flew into it and began piloting it furiously, smashing it toward Jianchen's divine hall. The other great elders all cut open space and formed space gates as well, directly disappearing through them and returning to the Protector clan. They were not as strong as Yangzi, so they were unable to retrieve the divine hall like Yangzi. As such, they could only go back personally. Due to some rules in the Protector clans, they could not become the masters of the divine halls like Jianchen. Instead, the divine halls were enshrined in the Protector clan and not carried with them. They could only be taken out during times of need and were controlled using a secret technique. Boom! Yangzi used his divine hall to collide violently with the Octaterra divine hall. It immediately produced a deafening boom. The terrifying energy ripples visibly expanded in all directions, causing the mountains below to collapse. Many rocks were reduced to dust. Although divine halls did not possess much external offensive powers, they still contained the power of Saint Emperors. The collision of two divine halls in midair was akin to the clash of two Saint Emperors. Just the sound was enough to kill Heaven's Saint Masters, ripping their souls to shreds. Fortunately, the battleground had already moved several hundred kilometers. If it had occurred in the sky above Flame City, merely the sound waves from the collision would have been enough to kill off the entire city. The two halls remained completely fine after colliding, but the powerful force knocked both of them backward. Both sides were serious. As soon as the divine halls stabilized, they collided with one another viciously once again. It caused the earth to shake and countless mountains to collapse. Very quickly, the other great elders returned from the Yuan sect with divine halls as well. They controlled one each, so there was a total of 5 including Yangzi's. They struck Jianchen's Octaterra divine hall threateningly to vent their anger. Arg! Jianchen produced a long wail. He was not afraid at all, controlling his divine hall to charge toward the other 5 halls with great force. Currently, the conflict between Jianchen and the Yuan sect had already been reduced to the collisions between divine halls. Although no one succeeded at injuring anyone, the battle was clearly still very intense. The sound from the 6 divine halls grew even vaster. Terrifying sound waves wreaked havoc in the surroundings, to the point where even the space was ripped open. The mountains below collapsed one after another, while even the energy of the world was greatly affected. It began to churn violently. The great disturbance from the constant collisions of the 6 divine halls had alerted all the peak-level experts on the continent. Tianjian sat with his eyes closed in midair within an unknown space. This space was part of a divine hall in Mercenary City. His eyebrows had become rather white. Opposite of him sat the black-robed Ming Dong and the burly, bare-chested Tai Ta. They had always received the personal guidance of Tianjian in the past few years, so they had powered up at a divine rate. A heavy aura currently filled their surroundings. Suddenly, Tianjian snapped open his eyes and a gleam of light flashed through them. He looked toward the void far away. His eyes seemed to be able to pierce through it, able to see far away. It's actually a conflict between 6 divine halls. 5 of them belong to the Yuan sect of the Protector clans, so who's controlling the other one? He actually dares to take the Yuan sect on as enemies, murmured Tianjian. He disappeared with a movement. A gray-haired old man had his feet in the mud of an empty little valley at the outskirts of the Cross Mountains. He constantly swung his hoe as he plowed the ground. Suddenly, the old man's ordinary eyes sharpened. He stared into the distance with interest and had even stopped his plowing. What powerful residual ripples of battle. Just who is fighting? Have the experts of the beast god continent come again? The old farmer murmured. He closed his eyes and used a secret technique to observe what was going on there. Only after a while did he sigh emotionally and say, "So it's someone fighting the Yuan sect with a divine hall. I wonder who is the controller of that divine hall. Their bravery is admirable to provoke one of the 10 protector clans, but this has nothing to do with me. I've stepped back from matters regarding the continent long ago and will no longer interfere with anything. As long as the experts of the beast god continent don't come invading and little Fatty's life remains unthreatened, I couldn't care less even if the sky fell on me." The old farmer paused when he reached this point. A sliver of shock flashed through his eyes as he said, "Weird. Why do I feel a familiar presence from that divine hall? It seems to be related to the cultivation method of my bloodsword sect. Just who is controlling the divine hall?" The old farmer frowned slightly. He lowered his head in thought and mumbled to himself, "No, I gotta go have a look." He swung his hoe and it ripped open a space gate. Then, he traveled through it with his feet bare and the hoe on his shoulder. In another region of space, a large water mirror hung in the air, displaying the battle between the 6 divine halls. Below it lay an evil-looking, middle-aged, white-robed man who lay on a patch of grass as he looked on with interest. He seemed to be watching something fascinating. I didn't think that Jianchen would become so great after disappearing for just a few years. It's quite unbelievable. Now that Jianchen has the divine hall protecting him, I'd like to see just how the protector clans take the winged tiger god from him. To think that the protector clans would devote so much energy into fighting for the winged tiger god. They used so many methods in an attempt to find Jianchen and take the winged tiger god, but now Jianchen has returned himself with the winged tiger god by his side. I wonder what their expressions would be like when they discover that they can't forcefully take the tiger away from Jianchen. I really do look forward to that moment. I must see it for myself when the protector clans are forced to give in." The man laughed evilly. At this very moment, an extremely attractive woman who seemed to be in her 20s slowly walked over from afar. She sighed and said, "Husband, I seem to be pregnant. Why don't you spend more time with me?" The woman grumbled. The man waved his hand and the mirror immediately shattered. He stood up and laughed toward the woman. "Haha, this Path Lord's 88th child will finally be born." On the misty Dragon Island, the Lustastron pit continued to glimmer with starlight like before. It seemed to be filled with stars, making it extremely enchanting. At this moment, the calm space at the bottom of the pit began to tremble slightly. 2 figures gradually appeared as their outlines became more distinct. It was a middle-aged man who seemed to be in his 40s and an old man who seemed to be in his 70s. They were the golden divine dragon Ruijin and the mutated divine alligator Heiyu that had separated from Jianchen all those years ago. After disappearing for close to a decade, nothing had happened to the 2 of them. They remained as usual with their clothes neat and without any injuries. The only difference was that they currently seemed just like ordinary people. They seemed extremely simple. Ruijin glanced around and mumbled, "We're finally back. We need to go find Jianchen. We can't let anything happen to him, or I'll never be able to see my clansmen ever again." Heiyu nodded his head and replied, "Jianchen is a human from the Tianyuan continent, so he should be there. Let's go." Jianchen continued to clash with the 5 divine halls as he controlled his own. They were locked in a battle where neither side wanted to give in. The surrounding space ripped open silently as they fought, forming over 10 space gates. Experts poured out unceasingly, and every single one of them was a Saint King. In just a few seconds, several dozen Saint Kings had gathered at this location. In that moment, all the other protector clans had finally gathered once again. The Grand Elder of Mercenary City, Tianjian, and the Sect Master of the Bloodsword Sect, Houston, had also come. As soon as they emerged from the space gates, they focused their attention on the 6 divine halls that collided violently in midair. Their faces were filled with surprise. Houston, who carried a hoe on his shoulders, did not even look at the 5 divine halls from the Yuan sect. Instead, he stared unblinkingly at Jianchen's divine hall. His face became mixed and excited at the same time, revealing a lot of suspicions as well. He thought, it's not wrong. It can't be wrong. That divine hall really is connected to the cultivation method of my sect. I sense a sliver of energy of the same source from it. But divine halls are created by the powers of saint emperors. No saint emperor has ever appeared in my sect, so just who is the person controlling this divine hall? And just where does this divine hall come from? Who created it? Chapter 975, Resisting the Protector Clans, 5. Jianchen and the several great elders of the Yuan sect naturally noticed the arrival of the other protector clans as they fought intensely, but they did not stop. Jianchen controlled the Octaterra Divine Hall by himself, fighting against the 5 other divine halls. He collided with the other divine halls without fear, becoming more courageous as the battle progressed. The collisions between the 6 divine halls alerted many Saint Kings. After the protector clans arrived, Space Gate formed in midair one after another and Saint Kings of various ages emerged. They were all the ancestors of ancient clans, as well as some great hermits. Among them were Changyang Zhu Yunxiao, who stayed at the Changyang clan of Lore City. They looked toward the 6 divine halls as soon as they arrived. They all tried to guess exactly who was controlling the lone divine hall. They wanted to learn exactly who was brave enough to openly provoke a protector clan and take the Yuan sect on as their enemy. The 5 great elders had fought against Jianchen's divine hall with their own for a very long time, but they could do nothing to him. In the end, they could no longer endure it, so someone called out, "Everyone, the winged tiger god is within that divine hall. Please assist us in breaking through it and taking the winged tiger god." The great elder's words surprised all the surrounding people. They all looked toward the Octaterra Divine Hall in disbelief. "Ling Tianzi, are you sure? Is the winged tiger god really inside?" Tianjian asked with a deep voice. Uneasiness flooded his eyes. "Impossible. Isn't the winged tiger god with Jianchen, and hasn't he gone to the sea realm? If so, the winged tiger god would naturally be in the sea realm. Why has it ended up in that divine hall? Ling Tianzi, don't try messing with us. Yuan sect, are you trying to use this fake news to tempt us into helping you just because you can't beat your enemy?" The great elder's words caused a great disturbance among the people. All the people from the protector clans and mercenary city asked with doubt. No one was able to stay out of this if it was related to the winged tiger god. Houston and the other Saint Kings remained silent. Although the winged tiger god tempted many of them, they knew quite well that this was not a matter that they could interfere with at all. They could only watch from the side and see what fascinating things happened. Everyone, i.e. Jinzi, can guarantee that Ling Tianzi is telling the truth. The winged tiger god is indeed within that divine hall, and its controller is Jian Chen, who fled to the sea realm with the winged tiger god all those years ago. He has even beaten our great elder, Ling Yuanzi, to the point where only his soul is left. Another great elder called out from a divine hall. "What? The controller is Jianchen." All the people from the protector clans called out. They were filled with disbelief. A golden gleam of light exploded in Tianjian's eyes. He stared at the divine hall in interest. He was stunned. Houston stood with an ordinary hoe on his shoulders, but his deep old eyes also shone as he stared unblinkingly at the Octaterra Divine Hall. He too was filled with disbelief. All the Saint Kings from the ancient clans were shocked. Jian Chen's name was like a thunderclap to their ears in the past few years. They just never thought that Jian Chen, who was clearly a saint ruler, would be controlling a divine hall as he fought against the people of the Yuan sect. He had even made them become helpless against him. These Saint Kings were utterly overwhelmed with disbelief. Other than shock, the members of the protector Changyang clan were delighted. Changyang Zhu Yunxiao and Changyang Zhu Xiao were affected in particular as they became ecstatic. This was due to the fact that Jianchen was not only a member of their Changyang clan, but also a person of their Zhu branch. Jianchen has actually returned, and he has become so strong. Fantastic, this is truly fantastic. I'll immediately go bring Konga, Changyang Zhu Yunxiao said with a trembling voice. After that, he immediately left through a space gate. Never did I think that the great Yuan sect of the protector clans would have a moment where they need to call for help when they're face up against a junior. I've finally seen it today. Jian Chen's voice emerged from the divine hall. He was making fun of them. Jian Chen, you're too cocky. Do you really think that we're helpless against you just because you're hiding in a divine hall? Yunzi said furiously. Jian Chen's open provocation had completely humiliated them. Tianjin and Houston immediately became joyful when they heard Jian Chen's familiar voice. All their doubt for Jian Chen were gone regardless of how they had felt earlier. I never thought he'd really return so quickly. This really has greatly exceeded anything I had expected. Tianjin smiled happily as he thought. You've returned perfectly. You still need to take back what was taken away from you before. Jian Chen, your accomplishments have far exceeded my anticipations. But you are still too rash as a young person. A divine hall is not enough to deal with a protector clan, Houston also thought. In that moment, all 7 other protector clans stood up and formed a loose encirclement around Jian Chen besides the protector Changyang clan and the Pure Heart Pavilion. Jian Chen's clash with the Yuan sect had finally stopped and the great elders all emerged from their divine halls. They all stared coldly at the Octaterra Divine Hall as they remained pale-faced from their fury. Jian Chen let his divine hall remain floating in the air as he emerged on the very top. He looked around like nonchalantly at the protector clans that encircled him, but he showed no fear. The cat-sized tiger stood with its chest up on Jian Chen's shoulder as it stared coldly at the people of the protector clans. A naturally condescending aura radiated from it, possessing some of its prestige as a beast god. Although the white tiger was still young and not completely mature, it was extremely intelligent. It knew that the surrounding people were bad. Look, everyone. That's the winged tiger god. As soon as the white tiger revealed itself out in the open, it garnered the attention of everyone. Immediately, everyone looked away from Jian Chen and focused their gazes on it, even the protector clans. Greed leaked from their eyes. Jian Chen could not help but sneer when he saw how everyone behaved. The winged tiger god is on me. If you want it, come take it. As he said that, a tremendous aura began to radiate from him. It caused the surrounding space to tremble and blur, shocking everybody. This was because the presence had reached the 3rd heavenly layer of Saint King. How is this possible? When he was on the Tianyuan continent, he was clearly just a 3rd heavenly layer Saint Ruler. How did he become a Saint King? His strength has risen to such a level in a short decade. Everyone was astounded, including the 10 protector clans. Only the Yuan sect was able to remain composed as they had witnessed Jian Chen's strength earlier. In that moment, Jian Chen drew the Emperor armament from his space ring. Immediately, the expressions of many Saint Kings changed once again as a terrifying energy radiated from the Emperor armament. It was at the level of the 7th heavenly layer. The 7th heavenly layer of Saint King was much stronger than many of the Saint Kings present. There were only a few people left who could overpower Jian Chen. Jian Chen displayed his full strength. He could not hold back at all before the 10 protector clans. Today, he wanted to let everyone know that he could resist the protector clans. This was not solely because of the Octaterra Divine Hall, but that he had his own strength as well. The current him was no longer the Saint Ruler who could be undermined by all Saint Kings like 10 years ago. Everyone sucked in a breath and many people's hearts began to thump involuntarily. Jian Chen's current strength was already enough to make many of them tremble. Tianjin and Houston became stunned. Both of them stared at Jian Chen with their tongues tied as their hearts churned. The 2 of them were the first ones to meet Jian Chen. Back then, when Jian Chen was just a mere Earth Saint Master, they already knew him. As such, they understood Jian Chen's growth very well. It was just that they could not connect it to this high-spirited person who dared to challenge the 10 protector clans to the puny little Earth Saint Master from all those years ago. All the members of the protector clans looked at one another. Back then, the reason they wanted to take the winged tiger god was because they completely undermined him as a Saint Ruler. Now that Jian Chen's strength had skyrocketed and reached an unbelievable level, their opinions of him underwent great changes as well. Just with his strength alone, Jian Chen was enough for the protector clans to treat with importance. In addition, he now possessed a divine hall as well, which made it even harder to deal with him. Even if you ignored these factors, Jian Chen's status was extremely special as he was a member of the Changyang protector clan. The people looked at each other as they hesitated. None of them wanted to miss such an easy opportunity to take the winged tiger god, so they fell into a dilemma. The great elders from the Yangji sect hesitated as well. Jian Qin had crushed a branch that they had established outside many years ago. They originally wanted to use this as an excuse for taking the winged tiger god, but they now hesitated after witnessing Jian Qin's strength. They were uncertain whether they should continue on the matter and asked Jian Qin for an explanation. Meanwhile, the Yuan sect did not let Jian Qin off so easily. A great elder yelled out, "Jian Qin, you injured our great elder Ling Yuanzi. You need to give us an explanation for that. Ling Yuanzi heavily injured me in the ocean back then, almost causing me to die. I came to kill him in revenge. It's an universally accepted principle," Jian Qin retorted without showing any weakness, before glaring at the surrounding people. He said furiously, "My flame city was taken and the flame mercenaries were chased out. Do you dare to say that you protector clans had nothing to do with it?" Chapter 976, Jian Qin's treatment. Ling Yuanzi heavily injured me in the ocean back then, almost causing me to die. I came to kill him in revenge. It's an universally accepted principle, Jian Qin retorted without showing any weakness, before glaring at the surrounding people. He said furiously, "My flame city was taken and the flame mercenaries were chased out. Do you dare to say that you protector clans had nothing to do with it?" Jian Qin, there are rules among us protector clans. We cannot develop any large organizations on the continent. As a member of a protector clan, you will naturally need to follow this rule. The size of your flame mercenaries exceeded the limits, and they possessed a city made from tungsten alloy. Naturally, they were disbanded, a great elder of a protector clan said with a deep voice. A sliver of mixed emotions appeared in Jian Qin's eyes when he heard these words, but it vanished very quickly. He said coldly, "That's a bunch of lies. I am born in Lore City of the Jessen Kingdom. I have no ties with any protector clan, much less being a member of one." Great Elder Changyang Zhu Shao of the protector Changyang clan stood forward and stared at Jian Qin. His face was extremely mixed as he said with an almost trembling voice, "Jian Qin, you're a part of the protector Changyang clan. The founder of Lore City Changyang clan was my great-grandson, Changyang Zhu Yunkong. You're a descendant of Yunkong, thus a great-grandson of mine as well. The blood of the protector Changyang clan runs in your veins." Jian Qin remained as usual. Just as he was about to retort, a space gate suddenly appeared next to him and Changyang Zhu Yunshao emerged. A great group of people followed behind him. Changyang Zhu Yiyun, Changyang Zhu Yunkong, Bai Hai, Jetatai, Chang Wuji, Yu Yu, Bai Lian, Yu Fengyan, and everyone else had come. "Look, is he Changyang Xiangtian?" Changyang Zhu Yunkong said to this group of people. His voice was filled with emotion. He had specially gone back to the Changyang clan and brought back this group of people so that they could recognize Jian Qin. This was just in case the Jian Qin before them was fake. "Brother, Xiangtian, young master, Jian Qin." When the group saw Jian Qin, they immediately became emotional. Uncle Chang, Yu Fengyan, Bai Lian, and Yu were moved to tears. Good. It's good that you've returned, it's good that you've returned, Bai Hai said with his deep voice. He was also extremely emotional. The middle-aged beauty Changyang Zuyun stared at Jian Qin in astoundment as she sighed emotionally. Is he the clansman who saved Kong? Why is he so powerful? His presence gives me a suffocating feeling. Is he not a saint ruler? No, impossible. His age. Changyang Zhu Shao sighed gently when he heard that. He said, "The current Jian Qin is no longer the Jian Qin you knew before. He's a saint king now, and with his emperor armament, he can fight against 7th heavenly layer saint kings. There aren't many people left on the continent that can suppress him." Changyang Zhu Yunshao, Changyang Zhu Yiyun, and Changyang Zhu Yunkong all became stunned when they heard this. Their shock reached its utmost limit. A while later, Changyang Zhu Yunkong could not help but laugh from the bottom of his heart. "I'm more than satisfied with my life to be able to have such an outstanding descendant. Great-grandson, you are now an awe-inspiring supreme expert. You can do whatever you like. Our protector Changyang clan will be supporting you from behind." Jian Chen's killing intent immediately began to reduce rapidly when members of his family appeared before him. He too became extremely emotional, but he knew that this was not the time to reminisce the old days. As such, he forcefully suppressed his feelings. Jian Chen's sorry. I did not live up to your expectations and failed to protect Flame City. Flame City has been taken away by someone else, Yu called out as tears ran down her cheeks. She blamed herself for everything. Jian Chen's heart was pained when he saw Yu Yu's haggard face. Jian Chen always felt ashamed with himself over Yu. He just owed her too much. Yuer, I already know about the matters of Flame City. It's not your fault. Don't worry. I will take everything stolen from me back with nothing missing, Jian Chen comforted, before looking at Changyang Zhu Yunkong. Great-grandfather, are you really treating the Changyang clan as one of your own after how they treated you all those years ago? Has the seal in your head been removed? Changyang Zhu Yunkong's face darkened when he heard that and he immediately stopped talking. Meanwhile, the expressions of the great elders of the Changyang clan became a little unnatural. Changyang Zhu Shao sighed gently and said, although Konger made some mistakes all those years ago and the clan expelled him, the blood of the Changyang clan still flows in his veins. This is an undebatable fact, and the clan has already taken back Kong. Let's not talk about this for now. I want to take back Flame City today and revive the Flame Mercenaries. Will the Changyang clan be preventing me from doing so? Jian Chen glared at the group of people from the Protector Changyang clan as he stood high on top of the Divine Hall. The great elders frowned slightly. They looked at each other and all became troubled. With Jian Chen's current strength, they no longer had the right to forcefully order him to do things. Jian Chen sneered after seeing their reactions. Then he gazed past the other 9 Protector clans. After looking away, he said, "Today, I will be taking back Flame City and reviving the Flame Mercenaries. Stand out, whoever wants to stop me," Jian Chen spoke sharply. He did not respect the Protector clans at all, as he had no good impression toward them. If it were not for Tianjian's help all those years ago, he probably would not have been able to make it out of the continent and arrive at the Sea Realm. He would have fallen into the hands of the Protector clans instead. He would not be faced with death, but the White Tiger would definitely be taken from his side. Meanwhile, the matters of Flame City and the Flame Mercenaries were directly related to the Protector clans. Jian Chen was quite resentful toward them. You arrogant brat. Jian Chen, do you really think you can look down on us Protector clans now that you have a damn Divine Hall? You cannot impinge on our dignity. Breaking your Divine Hall is nothing difficult, called out Ling Fengzi of the Yuan sect. Jian Chen, the rules between us Protector clans has existed for thousands of years. No one can break it. You are now a member of a Protector clan, so you must respect this rule. You cannot take back Flame City, said the pavilion master of the Pure Heart Pavilion, Wu Chenzi. Jian Chen, if you take back Flame City today, you will be challenging the authority of us 10 clans. You will become the enemies of all of us, said a former schoolmaster of the Heavens Incense School. Jian Chen, if you insist on this, you will be dealt with by all 10 Protector clans according to the rules. Even the Protector Changyang clan that stands behind you will be dragged in. If you weren't a member of a Protector clan, we would not interfere with anything. All the people from the 9 other Protector clans spoke out. They all opposed Jian Chen's wish to take back Flame City and did not want him to expand his forces. They spoke extremely sternly, leaving no room for any bargaining. Jian Chen's face began to sink. He slowly turned toward the great elders of the Changyang clan and said nonchalantly, "You now have 2 choices. The first choice is to fend off the Protector clans with me and take back the Flame City that belongs to me. The second choice would be that I, Jian Chen, will break free from your Changyang clan and have no more ties with you anymore." The great elders reacted with a change in expression and Changyang Qingyun called out immediately, "Jian Chen, the blood of the Changyang clan runs in your veins. You can't just break off the tie just because you want to. You must not interfere with the matters of Flame City anymore. That is the rule between us Protector clans. You have no authority to order me to do anything. I don't care who is going to be standing in my way today. I will be taking back Flame City," yelled Jian Chen. Changyang Qingyun became furious. The other Protector clans all looked at each other. the situation seemed rather delicate. Given that Jian Chen was a member of the Protector Changyang clan, he could use the clan to successfully keep the winged tiger god and shut them up. However, the situation at hand seemed to exceed their expectations. Jian Chen's relationship with the Changyang clan did not seem as harmonious as they had imagined. A light flickered in the eyes of Yangzi as he hesitated. A while later, he seemed to make up his mind. His eyes stopped wavering and sneered, "Jian Chen, don't you even think about taking back Flame City today? I'd like to see how you will contend with us without your divine hall. I'll break it right now. Great elders of the Yuan sect, I now command you all to produce the Emperor armament together and break through that divine hall in revenge for Ling Yuanzi." The expressions of the great elders all changed. Yi Jinzi cried out with a deep voice, "What? Use the Emperor armament? Yi Yangzi, are you certain about using the Emperor armament? The power of the Emperor armament is just too great. We will all suffer a heavy backlash," Ling Tianzi also called out. He became stern. Yi Yangzi's face darkened as he called out angrily, "If we don't, then how do we break through his divine hall and avenge Ling Yuanzi?" The great elders all hesitated slightly before they gritted their teeth, ready to rip open a space gate to retrieve the Emperor armament. A gleam of light flashed through Jian Chen's eyes when he heard them talk. He thought, the divine hall cannot be broken through unless there's a Saint Emperor, while the Emperor armament of the Yuan sect can break through mine. Also, they said that if they use it with their strength, they will be hit with a powerful backlash. What is this Emperor armament, to be so terrifying? Can they use attacks on par with Saint Emperors if they use their Emperor armament? Jian Chen's heart shivered before making up his mind. I can't let them bring the Emperor armament. Please wait. A voice suddenly rang out just as Jian Chen planned on doing something. The white-clothed Tian Jian slowly descended. Tian Jian's actions immediately attracted everyone's attention. They all looked toward him as an expert from a protector clan said, "Tian Jian, does your mercenary city plan on interfering with this matter?" Tian Jian paid no heed to that person and said to the people of the Yuan sect, "Your Emperor armament is forged from the full strength and essence of several dozen Saint Emperors. It cannot be used against people of the same race. You cannot use your Emperor armament." Yi Yangzi's face sank as he clasped his hands toward Tian Jian. "Grand Elder, this is the matter of us protector clans. I hope your mercenary city does not interfere." Tian Jian said, "The power of the Emperor armament is too powerful. It can destroy whole regions of land and wipe out any life on them, so you can't use it casually. I naturally would have nothing to say if you were to use it against invading foreigners, but I definitely will not let you use the Emperor armament for some small matters against a junior." "Tian Jian, why must you stop what we're doing?" Yi Yangzi growled. "If you still insist on using it, my mercenary city will devote their full strength into preventing you for the continent," Tian Jian said forcefully. He was completely stern and did not seem like he was joking at all. Chapter 977. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires appears. Your mercenary city is sticking its nose into too many matters. Yangzi was furious, while his complexion was horrible. He was helpless against Jian Chen if he did not use the Emperor armament to crush Jian Chen's divine hall. The existence of my mercenary city is also to protect the peace of the Tian Yuan continent, Tian Jian said. The great elders of the Yuan sect all revealed ugly expressions after being stopped from using the Emperor armament. They definitely did not doubt that Mercenary City had the power to stop them. Although Mercenary City did not have a history as lengthy as the Protector clans, it was founded by the strongest human expert, Mo Tianyun. No one knew what else Mo Tianyun had left behind in Mercenary City. The experts from the other Protector clans looked at one another. Undoubtedly, they could not use their Emperor armaments now that Mercenary City had interfered. But if they did not use the Emperor armament, it would be very difficult to break through the Divine Hall, even if the experts from all the Protector clans worked together. This was because a qualitative difference existed between Saint Emperor and Saint King. They were experts of two completely different levels of cultivation. Saint Kings used the Saint Force within them and World Force, while Saint Emperors could completely overpower World Force. All the people from the Protector clans became stunned at the situation. No one had any ideas in this moment. Although they also possessed divine halls were not weapons and were extremely tough. They could not injure Jianqin if he sheltered himself in the Octotera Divine Hall, no matter how many divine halls they used themselves. Haha, wonderful. Utterly wonderful. I never thought that the 10 Protector clans would also have a moment where they can only give in, forced into such a situation by a junior. An odd laughter resounded in the surroundings at this very moment. An evil-looking middle-aged man had appeared up above from nowhere. The man did not come through a space gate. Instead, he had hidden himself there for quite some time, but no one present had realized. Path Lord of Carnal Desires, it's actually you. All their expressions changed and became rather ugly when they saw this man. Ah, correct. It is indeed I, the Path Lord. Surely I haven't frightened anyone with my sudden appearance, said the Path Lord as he laughed gently. There's nothing to do with you here, Path Lord. Why you come? An expert said coldly. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires' sudden appearance was unwelcomed. I can go wherever I want to go. Since when were you in charge of where I went? You still don't have the authority, sneered the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. Afterward, he looked toward Jianqin and smiled. Jianqin, you are impressive, much stronger than I was back then. I really do admire you for being courageous enough to go against the Protector clans. I remember, back when I had your level of strength, I snuck into the Heaven's Incense School to peep at the current school master showering. Though I had only peeped a few times before being chased all over the continent by the most powerful person in the school. He chased me for 10 whole years before finally being satisfied. I was nowhere like you, opposing the Protector clans all by yourself and making them helpless against you. Path Lord, do you not know shame? A woman who seemed to be roughly 30 years of age stared at the Path Lord of Carnal Desires furiously. She was among the experts of the Heaven's Incense School. Her gaze made it seem like she was tempted to flay him alive. Sister Yun Xiang, it has been 2,000 years since we last met. You've already become a great elder of the Heaven's Incense School, but I've seen every part of you whether I was supposed to see it or not. Why don't you join me and become my 89th wife? The Path Lord of Carnal Desires smiled evilly. The woman became pale white as her chest heaved heavily. Her beautiful eyes burned with rage. Jianqin could not help but become curious as he stood on top of the Divine Hall. He wondered exactly who this Path Lord of Carnal Desires was. He actually dared to make fun of a Saint King from the Heaven's Incense School and even view the school's experts as nothing. Be careful, this Path Lord of Carnal Desires is a Saint Emperor. He's the only Saint Emperor on the continent of this day, and he's enough to break through your divine hall. Tianjian's voice appeared in Jianqin's ears, immediately throwing him into shock. Jianqin's gaze toward the Path Lord became filled with fear. The Path Lord smiled evilly and took a single step forward. He arrived on top of the Octotera Divine Hall and before Jianqin in that very instant. He said, Jianqin, you have an enmity with the people of the Yuan sect. Ling Yuanzi wanted to kill you all those years ago, so he cannot be forgiven so easily. Although you destroyed his body, his soul remains. With what the Protector clans are capable of, it won't take long before Ling Yuanzi fully recovers. You can't steal his soul back at all with your current strength, so why don't we make a deal? I will teach the Yuan sect a lesson for you and give you Ling Yuanzi's soul. After that, you give me the winged tiger god. How about that? Jianqin's heart sank when he heard that the Path Lord of Carnal Desires had also come for the white tiger. Jianqin said, Path Lord of Carnal Desires, you're already a Saint Emperor now. Why must you fight over the winged tiger god? The Path Lord smiled evilly and replied, I naturally have my own intentions for wanting the winged tiger god. You don't need to care too much about them. Jianqin, are you going to agree to the deal or not? Your divine hall isn't very tough before me. Path Lord, I will not be handing the white tiger over to anyone, unless it decides to follow them itself, Jianqin said with determination. The Path Lord remained calm and said, if that's the case, I'll force the winged tiger god to follow me on its own accord. He then raised his hand and an extremely tremendous energy quickly gathered. This was the power of Saint Emperors. enough to make ninth heavenly layer Saint Kings pale. Stop! A loud voice boomed at this very moment, causing the surrounding space to tremble. Shortly afterward, a space gate suddenly appeared and two ordinary-looking people emerged. It was Ruijin and Heiyu. Jian Chen stared at the two of them in disbelief. They had separated in the Lunastron pit previously, and Jian Chen thought he would never see the two of them ever again. He never thought they would actually appear on the Tianyuan continent completely unharmed. This surprised Jian Chen but also filled him with joy. After all, the two of them had helped Jian Chen on Dragon Island. Particularly Ruijin, who had collected a large amount of dragon's saliva. Jian Chen had always felt grateful toward the two of them. The Path Lord looked toward the two of them and a gleam of light immediately flashed through his eyes. He said, "It's actually two magical beasts at great perfection of Saint King. You two are looking for your deaths by coming here." Ruijin and Heiyu both looked toward the Path Lord of Carnal Desires and they became stern. Ruijin growled, "A human Saint Emperor. Seniors Ruijin and Senior Heiyu, please leave immediately. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires is a Saint Emperor. You're not his opponent." Jian Chen panicked as he yelled toward the two of them. Ruijin and Heiyu's seriousness disappeared when they heard that, now replaced with a sneer. They said, "So what if he's a Saint Emperor? Today, we will try the strength of a Saint Emperor." Chapter 978. Fighting a Saint Emperor. Ruijin and Heiyu were both Saint Kings at great perfection, so a difference in abilities existed when compared to a Saint Emperor. However, they both seemed very confident. Their words shocked everyone present, regardless of the Saint Kings from ancient clans or the great elders of protector clans. They all looked toward Ruijin and Heiyu weirdly, as if they were looking at a pair of idiots. Although they were powerful, they were still limited to being Saint Kings. They did not have the abilities to resist before a Saint Emperor. A Saint Emperor was an expert at a completely different level of cultivation and not something Saint Kings could go up against. Not to mention, the Path Lord of Carnal Desires had reached Saint Emperor many years ago. He was so strong that even the Tiger Emperor of the Beast God continent, Lankiros, failed to match up to him. Ruijin and Heiyu stunned the Path Lord of Carnal Desires as well. He looked at the two of them in disbelief and asked to confirm, "What did you say? You two want to fight me?" Ruijin and Heiyu glanced at each other and they seemed to mutually understand one another. Immediately, two tremendous presences began to radiate from them, spreading mightily to a radius of several dozen kilometers. The great perfection of Saint King was a level of cultivation beyond the ninth heavenly layer. It drew infinitesimally close to Saint Emperor and was stronger than the ninth heavenly layer. Their presences immediately brought on a tremendous pressure to the relatively weaker Saint Kings present. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires shook his head in disappointment. "If this is all the strength you have no right to fight with me. It'll be very difficult for you to leave today as well, as I only need to twitch a finger and you too will have your souls wiped out." Ruijin became furious when the Path Lord said that. He was a golden divine dragon, the Emperor of the Dragons, so naturally he was prideful. How could he endure the insults from the Path Lord of Carnal Desires? "Sacred Dragon's Armor." Ruijin called out and a mysterious yet powerful energy immediately began to radiate from him. Soon afterward, a dazzling streak of golden light shot out from his body, encasing him entirely. A suit of awe-inspiring armor now covered Ruijin through the dense golden light. The expression of the Path Lord of Carnal Desires finally changed when he saw Ruijin's armor. He cried out involuntarily, "Is this impossible, Sacred Dragon's Sword?" Ruijin called out once again. He raised both his arms into the air and a silvery white, 3-meter-long sword suddenly appeared in his hands. It shone brightly with a silvery white light, dyeing the entire area snow-white. An unbelievably tremendous energy flooded the region with the sword's appearance. It did not rip through the space, but instead froze it. In that moment, time and air seemed to stop. The expressions of all the Saint Kings changed too. They all stared at the sword in shock, as they all shivered from the pressure it emitted. What is this weapon?" It's so powerful, even more terrifying than our emperor armament forged by several dozen saint emperors, a great elder of a protector clan said with a trembling voice. Magical beast experts don't usually use weapons, so why does he have such a terrifying weapon? Is it an emperor armament forged by several dozen saint emperors as well? Yangzi said with a deep voice. He was in shock. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires could no longer remain calm. He stared at the sword above Rui Jin's head in disbelief and called out involuntarily, "Origin energy, it's actually origin energy. I actually sense origin energy. How is this possible?" Even in the ancient times, there were no weapons that possessed origin energy. With another tremendous wave of energy, a suit of azure-colored armor appeared on Heiyu, while a silver-white machete materialized in his hand. It radiated with a pressure no less terrifying than the sacred dragon's sword. A black-clothed, middle-aged man suddenly stood up on the 9th floor of the Beast God Hall. A wild aura immediately began to radiate from him. Origin energy. It's the presence of origin energy. Origin energy has actually appeared on the Tianyuan continent. The sage-like Pring Emperor, Songqiong, stood up on the 97th floor. He looked in the direction of the Tianyuan continent in interest as he said hoarsely, "It's the presence of origin energy." Tiger Emperor Lankiros stopped cultivating on the 96th floor and suddenly stood up. He cried out, "Origin energy, it's origin energy. How can origin energy exist on the Tianyuan continent?" The expression of the Path Lord of Carnal Desires changed once more. He stared at Heiyu in disbelief and cried out in surprise, "It's origin energy again. How can this be possible? Where did you get these weapons with origin energy? Such powerful weapons have never appeared in all of history." Rui Jin growled sternly, "Human Saint Emperor, I didn't think that you'd still be quite knowledgeable enough to know the existence of origin energy. You're right. For all of history, such powerful weapons have never appeared, but they have appeared now. Do the two of us have the power to fight you now?" The Path Lord of Carnal Desires struggled to stay calm. "Tell me, where did you get these weapons? Do you know a place where origin energy exists?" Some desperation lingered in the Path Lord's voice. This was because origin energy was crucial for breaking through Saint Emperor. Origin energy had ceased to exist in the world long ago, which was why there had only been 4 people in total that had managed to surpass Saint Emperor. Once upon a time, there were countless experts at the peak of Saint Emperor who would lose all hopes for further breakthroughs. Their only choice was to watch helplessly as their 10 millennia lives ended and they became bones. "Human Saint Emperor, why should we tell you this? Are you going to fight with us or not?" Rui Jin growled. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires sucked in a deep breath and slowly calmed himself down. He looked toward Rui Jin as his eyes burned with greed. "If you tell me where origin energy is present, I am willing to help you do anything." All the Saint Kings present immediately became astounded after hearing this. "You better give up on that thought, Human Saint Emperor. Origin energy has disappeared long ago from this world. We will defeat you with our weapons in hand now," said Rui Jin straightforwardly. The Path Lord's words did not tempt him. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires stared fixedly at the two of them as a gleam of light flickered in his eyes. Only after a while did he speak out once again. "The weapons you possess are indeed very powerful and contain origin energy, but you cannot control them at all with your current strengths. If you think you can use them to fight against me, you're deluding yourselves. I'll show you the power of a Saint Emperor right now. Fight with me in outer space." With that, the Path Lord of Carnal Desires shot up into the air. Rui Jin and Heiyu did not want to fall behind, so they tailed him closely into outer space. The Octoterra Divine Hall landed in Jian Chen's hand as the size of a fist. He too soared into the air as he carried the Divine Hall in his left hand and the Emperor armament in his right. The Saint Kings from the Protector clans and ancient clans all followed afterward. None of them wanted to miss such a fascinating show, as they all wanted to know if 2 Saint Kings at great perfection could defeat the Path Lord of Carnal Desires with 2 powerful weapons. Changyang Zhu Yunshao sent Uncle Chang and the others back to the Changyang clan in Lore City before following them up. Jian Chen flew higher and higher, while the ground beneath him slowly turned into a huge planet. This was the first time he had flown so high. As their altitude rapidly increased, the air became thinner and thinner, enough to suffocate normal people. However, it could not affect the Saint Kings at all. Jian Chen felt weightless after leaving the atmosphere of the planet. He lost his ability to determine direction, as there was no concept of direction in this icy cold outer space. It even became difficult to distinguish between up and down. Jian Chen floated in a region of space as he stared fixedly at Rui Jin and He Yu. The Saint Kings from the other clans gathered around him. They all took up their own space as they looked toward Rui Jin and the two others. Suddenly, a white light illuminated the dark space. Rui Jin and He Yu's weapons both began to shine with a powerful white light, turning the region into a snowy white world. Terrifying energy began to surge, distorting the space around them. Rui Jin and He Yu struck out together at the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. As they stabbed out, the space around them quickly froze, expanding toward the Path Lord. The two weapons radiated with a terrifying pressure, making it suffocating for all the Saint Kings present. The Path Lord remained as he would usually as a terrifying energy quaked through his body. It forcefully stopped the freezing space before him. Then he grabbed at the empty region with a hand. Vast energy condensed in his hand. The power was so great that it exceeded the limitations of the space there, causing it to collapse. It did not mend while the energy was there. People have 7 emotions and 6 desires, and I used that as my path, creating the palms of emotions and desires. There are 16 moves in total, divided into 7 moves of emotions and the 6 moves of desires. The fusion of the 7 emotions gives the palm of severance, while the fusion of the 6 desires gives the palm of desireless. The final move is a fusion of all 7 emotions and 6 desires, the palm of desireless severance, murmured the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. Afterward, he slowly pushed out with his hand and spat out, "This is the first palm strike, the palm of greed." The terrifying energy quickly shot toward Rui Jin and He Yu, before striking their weapons in the end. An explosion occurred immediately. The Path Lord's palm strike was not purely an energy attack. An invisible intent viciously struck the souls of Rui Jin and He Yu after the explosion, resulting in an immediate change in their expressions. Their clear gazes instantly became clouded. The Path Lord's palm strike triggered the greed from the bottom of their hearts, disturbing their mental state. Chapter 979, Gathering of the 3 Saint Emperors. A slip in the mental state during a battle was a life-threatening danger, especially in battles between experts. A single attack could determine the outcome, so being distracted for even a split moment could result in death. The greed buried deeply within Rui Jin and He Yu was triggered by the Path Lord of Carnal Desires' attack. It affected them both, almost making them slip and lose themselves in the extremely tough greed that surged up. Rui Jin and He Yu immediately stabilized their mental states, forcibly suppressing the greed. They recovered very quickly. Your greed is not very strong, which was why you could recover so quickly. It definitely would not be so easy for someone who's especially greedy, said the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. Afterward, he struck out a second time. This is the palm of lust. The cultivation of the Path Lord of Carnal Desires focused on attacks that injured the soul. His attacks were able to affect it directly. It would give rise to various desires and urges hidden in people's hearts, catching them off guard. Struck with the palm of lust, the expressions of both Rui Jin and He Yu changed. Countless matters of lust floated through their heads with many obscene images sandwiched between. It affected their souls, making it difficult for them to remain composed. With their level of cultivation, they no longer lingered very much on carnal desires and emotions. As such, they were not affected very much by the desires and emotions alone. However, the Path Lord of Carnal Desires could intensify it by countless times. Let alone Saint Kings at great perfection, even Saint Emperors could be affected. Human Saint Emperor, no wonder you're the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. You can control the 7 emotions and 6 desires of people. Attacks like these are rarely seen, even in the ancient times. Unless you can completely purify your mind and become emotionless as well as desireless, anyone that faces up against you will be affected. They'll all be drowned in emotions, Rui Jin growled. The Path Lord smiled evilly. You too indeed have the power to fight Saint Emperors with just your origin energy weapons and armor, one for attacking and one for defending. However, it's a pity. You can't even touch me before being defeated. Eat my third palm strike, the palm of dread. As the Path Lord of Carnal Desires gently pushed out with his hand, the tremendous energy that gathered in his palm surged out like a flood toward Rui Jin and Heiyu. Human Saint Emperor, don't think that you're already victorious just because you can control the 7 emotions and 6 desires. Watch as we resist your attacks, called out Heiyu. A translucent pearl suddenly appeared above him, encasing his body with a glimmering light. At the same time, the exact same pearl appeared above Rui Jin, encasing him with a similar light. Afterward, he stabbed out with his sword. The sacred dragon's sword and Heiyu's machete collided with the Path Lord of Carnal Desire's attack, immediately producing a boom. The attacks were cancelled out, and when the soul attack from the palm strike approached Rui Jin and Heiyu, it was immediately blocked by the light from the pearl. This time, the Path Lord of Carnal Desires failed to affect them in any way. The Path Lord's expression changed slightly as he stared at the two of them in surprise. He said, "How is that possible? What treasure do you have that can block my soul attacks?" "It's fine even if I tell you. This is a defensive treasure that specializes in blocking attacks to the soul. I'd like to see how you affect us with your palm strike now, human Saint Emperor." Heiyu could not help but laugh out. Then, he charged toward the Path Lord as he swung his machete. The Path Lord's face became icy. Heiyu's attack with the Origin Energy machete was powerful enough to injure Saint Emperors, so he did not dare to ignore it at all. He immediately blocked and growled, "You too have quite a few treasures on you. You actually possess a treasure that can block my soul attacks as well, though I wonder how tough they are. Can they block my palm of severance from the fusion of the 7 emotions, my palm of desireless from the fusion of the 6 desires, and my final attack, the palm of desireless severance? Then try it. I'd like to see how your attacks break through our defensive treasures." This time, the speaker was Rui Jin. He was confident. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires sneered, "The palm of desireless severance is the most powerful move among the 7 emotions and 6 desires. It far exceeds your imaginations. Back when I fought the Tiger Emperor from the Beast God continent, I did not even need to use the palm of desireless severance. Just the palm of severance was enough to heavily injure him. Just imagine the power of the palm of desireless severance then. Now, allow me to break through your defensive treasures with that." He was about to strike out as he spoke, but his eyes suddenly narrowed and he turned toward one side. 3 space gates ripped open at the same time in the direction that the Path Lord looked. 2 middle-aged men and a ruddy old man emerged. They were the 3 Saint Emperors of the Beast God continent. The pressure of Saint Emperors immediately began to radiate from them with their appearance, causing the expressions of the Saint Kings who watched from afar to change. They had only seen Lankiros before, but they naturally knew the identities of the other 2 Saint Emperors. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires gazed past the 3 of them and became rather stern. He said, "I didn't think that the 3 Saint Emperors of the Beast God continent would all come." Jian Chen's expression immediately changed when he heard they were the 3 Saint Emperors of the Beast God continent. He immediately entered the Octaterra Divine Hall and pulled out the Saint artifact, before wordlessly throwing the white tiger inside. Afterward, he exited the Divine Hall once again. Hiding in the Divine Hall was useless before Saint Emperors. The 3 Saint Emperors all looked toward Rui Jin and Heiyu's armor and weapons. A gleam of light erupted in their eyes and they all cried out, "It really is Origin Energy. You too are magical beasts as well. Where did you obtain these weapons and armor that possess Origin Energy? Did you find a place with Origin Energy?" Lankiros asked Rui Jin and Heiyu. He was a little overwhelmed with excitement. Rui Jin and Heiyu looked at each other, and Heiyu spoke out, "Origin Energy has ceased to exist in this world long ago." "Then where do your weapons and armor come from? Why does Origin Energy exist within them?" A heavy voice boomed out. the ruler of the beast god continent spoke out, his voice also bearing some excitement. The sacred dragon's armor and the sacred dragon sword are consecrated items of the dragon clan, so they naturally came from my clan, said Ruijin. What? The sacred dragon's armor and the sacred dragon's sword? The three Saint Emperors were all shocked as they stared fixedly at the armor and weapon on Ruijin. After a while, they finally confirmed that they were indeed the sacred dragon's armor and sword, and they all became astonished. It really is the sacred dragon's armor and sword from the ancient dragon clan. But didn't they disappear with the dragon clan? Why are they suddenly on you now? And the armor and sword were never this strong in the past, let alone possessing origin energy. Where did you obtain these two items? Kaiser growled as he stared fixedly at Ruijin. Ruijin became slightly angered and said coldly, I have no need to tell you this. Be careful with your tone, you have no right to speak to me like that. Presumptuous. Kaiser fell into a rage as tremendous killing intent radiated from him. The one who's presumptuous is you. Ruijin bellowed, before producing a dragon roar. In the blink of an eye, he became a 300-meter-long golden divine dragon, radiating with a tremendous aura of dragons. My species are the kings of the dragon clan. Do you not know the rules of the dragon clan for being impolite toward me as an impure-blooded mutated earthworm? The hierarchy of the dragon clan was very strict, as they placed a lot of attention on bloodlines. The golden divine dragons were publicly acknowledged as the kings of the clan. They needed to be treated courteously and listened to by all members of the clan, regardless of age or strength. As a king, Ruijin was naturally prideful. Especially to people of the same clan, his status stood out even more. His prestige as a dragon king would not wane before a Saint Emperor, let alone a mutated earthworm with an impure bloodline. Ruijin revealed his true form, shocking everyone present except for Jianqin and the three Saint Emperors from the Beast God continent. No one had thought that a member of the Dragon clan would still exist, let alone a golden divine dragon. The three Saint Emperors from the Beast God continent remained calm, as if they knew Ruijin's original form long ago. A sneer formed on Kaiser's lips as he said, You must be the golden divine dragon that escaped from the space within the Saint artifact at the Radiant Saint Master Union? Correct. You are indeed a king of the Dragon clan, but it is no longer the ancient times. The Dragon clan no longer exists, so its rules no longer applies. Ruijin's expression immediately became extremely ugly when he heard that. At this moment, Kaiser's face suddenly changed and he called out, The Winged Tiger God. This is the presence of the Winged Tiger God. I actually sense a sliver of the Winged Tiger God's presence. It's nearby. Kaiser sniffed and followed the remaining smell in the air. His eyes locked onto Jianqin and glared at him. Kaiser growled, The presence of the Winged Tiger God is on you. Is it with you? Lankiros also looked toward Jianqin. He had seen an image of Jianqin before, so he recognized him immediately. He cried out, He's Jianqin. I didn't think he had already returned from the sea realm. Jianqin, hand over the Winged Tiger God. Kaiser's face darkened. He took a single step and arrived before Jianqin instantly. Chapter 980, Clash of the Powerful. Jianqin, hand over the Winged Tiger God. Kaiser's face darkened. He took a single step and arrived before Jianqin instantly. Jianqin, you avoided our pursuit by hiding in the sea realm all those years ago. I'd like to see where you run now that you're on the Tianyuan continent. Lankiros also stepped out and arrived before Jianqin. He glared at Jianqin as he radiated with a powerful aura. He was like a huge mountain that stood before Jianqin, making Jianqin feel like his body was sinking. Jianqin immediately began to circulate his chaotic force, pushing the chaotic body to the utmost limit to resist Lankiro's pressure. A gleam of light immediately flickered through Lankiro's eyes when he saw how Jianqin was able to resist his pressure without even flinching. He said coldly, Your strength is much greater than rumored, but killing you is still as easy as cake. Jianqin, hand over the Winged Tiger God and I'll spare your life. If you don't, there can only be death. I'd like to see who'll harm him. Ruijin arrived before Jianchen with a flash after returning to his human form. He glared at Lankiros and Kaiser as he wielded the sacred dragon sword. Heiyu had also arrived beside Ruijin. He faced the two Saint Emperors without showing any weakness. Lankiros' face began to sank. He growled, "Are you sick of living? Daring to block what I am doing? The winged tiger god is the god of the magical beasts. Since when did you have the right to interfere with its freedom? Unless the winged tiger god is willing itself, no one has the right to make it do what it doesn't like," growled Ruijin. "It's exactly because it's the god of us magical beasts that we need to bring the winged tiger god back, so we can provide even greater space and conditions for its growth. The winged tiger god should be living on our beast god continent. It should not be in the hands of you humans. Moreover, the winged tiger god is still growing. It's simple-minded. If it gets raised wrongly by you humans, it would be a loss for us magical beasts," said Lankiros. "The winged tiger god may be young, but it's still a beast god after all. How can it be led off in the wrong direction so easily? Anyway, don't you dare take it from Jianchen today." Ruijin did not let up as he pushed back at Lankiros with words. He protected Jianchen. Jianchen immediately became filled with doubt upon seeing how Ruijin and Heiyi were actually willing to offend two Saint Emperors to protect him. Their relationship did not seem to be anywhere near this level. Lankiros and Kaiser's expression became ugly after they heard Ruijin's words. Killing intent immediately appeared in Kaiser's eyes as he stared coldly at Ruijin. "Golden Divine Dragon, do you really think that I'm afraid of killing you since you're a king of the Dragon Clan? Don't blame me for not treating you as a clansman if you don't move." Ruijin immediately became furious when he was threatened by a mutant earthworm. He called out, "I have the sacred artifact of the Dragon Clan, the sacred dragon's armor, protecting me. Do you really think that you, a mere earthworm, can harm me?" Kaiser looked at Ruijin's armor as his eyes flickered in thought. He then said, "Tiger Emperor, keep the two of them busy. I'll take Jianchen." The Tiger Emperor sneered, "Don't worry, leave the two of them to me." After that, he charged toward Ruijin and Heiyu, embroiling in a great battle with the two of them. He kept them busy. Kaiser no longer hesitated now that Ruijin and Heiyu no longer blocked him. He directly extended a hand toward Jianchen. "This palm strike is the palm of joy." At this moment, a gentle voice rang out. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires suddenly lashed out, directly striking Kaiser with an attack. Kaiser's eyes turned icy and he immediately stopped his movements toward Jianchen. He punched out madly and collided with the Path Lord's palm strike in midair. Boom! The collision between the two attacks directly caused the surrounding space to collapse, shattering it into countless pieces. Terrifying residual energy swept out wildly, catapulting the helpless Jianchen far, far away. Immediately, a violent agony filled his head. His chaotic body had almost been injured. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires shot back quickly, stopping several kilometers away. He did not pale, but he was grim. Kaiser stood like a mountain unmoved, though his presence became rather unstable. His face twitched constantly as if he wanted to smile, but he forcefully kept it in. Kaiser returned to normal very quickly as he stared coldly at the Path Lord. He growled, "You sure are worthy of your name, the Path Lord of Carnal Desires who created the path of emotions and desires. You really do have some strength. It may be able to affect me a little, but that's all it can do." "Is that so?" The Path Lord of Carnal Desires smiled evilly. "The Tiger Emperor was heavily injured by my 7 palms of emotions back then. I'll make you try them today. Let's see if the most powerful person from the Beast God continent can come out unscathed. This is the second palm strike, the palm of rage." Clashing a second time, the Path Lord's palm strike made his expression change once again. The ruler of the Beast God continent was extremely easily enraged. As such, not only did the attack easily trigger the fury hidden within Kaiser, it quickly expanded to the point where it almost lost control. However, Kaiser was still a Saint Emperor in the end. He forcefully repressed his emotions very quickly and returned to his previous state. On the other hand, the Path Lord retreated several kilometers once again. The third palm strike, the fourth palm strike, The Path Lord of Carnal Desires struck out 7 times. Each palm strike contained different emotions, triggering all 7 emotions within Kaiser. Although it failed to injure him, he ended up in a horrible shape from the mental shock. The Path Lord retreated several dozen kilometers after the 7 palm strikes. He was stern. "Path Lord, I have already experienced your 7 palms of emotions. However, I wonder if you can endure a few punches from me?" Kaiser yelled out. His presence had become even messier now as all of his emotions had been set off. Although they were forcefully suppressed, they still created a mess in his mind, especially when directly opposite emotions appeared at the same time. It made him feel like his mind was going to break. "Fusion of the 7 emotions, palm of severance," said the Path Lord of Carnal Desires softly, before pushing out gently. "Watch as I break your palm of severance. Beast King Punch." Kaiser roared angrily, and a punch that contained indescribable laws of the world went up to meet the palm of severance. Kaiser's punch was much more powerful this time than before. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires was thrown back several dozen kilometers before finally coming to a stop. A sliver of paleness immediately appeared on his face. As the Path Lord shot backward, Kaiser's expression changed greatly as well. He produced a painful grunt. He was not injured by the force of the palm strike, but was instead affected by the palm of severance. The palm of severance was different from the attacks of the 7 emotions before. The 7 palm strikes earlier would intensify the 7 emotions of a person, while the palm of severance would sever the emotions. Struck by the attack, Kaiser felt like something extremely important had been forcefully yanked from his soul. His soul felt empty, and also experienced a sharp pain at the same time. The emotions rampant in Kaiser due to 7 attacks from the Path Lord had been forcefully severed by the palm of severance. It was like forcefully digging out all the organs in Kaiser's body, only leaving behind a shell. The 7 palm strikes earlier had magnified the 7 emotions endlessly, essentially planting the 7 emotions as seeds in the Kaiser's mind. Then, it germinated, taking up all of his thoughts. Afterward, the Path Lord used the palm of severance to sever the emotions, succeeding in injuring his opponent's soul. The palm of severance was not truly severing the emotions of the opponent, but a special way to injure the opponent's soul. The palm of severance could be used on its own, but if the 7 attacks were used beforehand and triggered the emotions of the opponent, its strength would be multiplied by forcefully removing those emotions. Kaiser was truly worthy of being a Saint Emperor as he recovered very quickly. However, he was unable to mend the damage to his soul. He stared at the Path Lord with a sunken face. "Your palm of severance really has broadened my horizons, but it has failed to injure me heavily. My soul has only sustained light injuries, while my Beast King punch has made you suddenly suffer quite heavy internal injuries. You're not my opponent. I still have the palm of desireless after the palm of severance, and then the palm of desireless severance. It's still too early to discuss who wins," said the Path Lord. The light in Kaiser's eyes flickered as he growled, "Looks like the Tianyuan continent insists on keeping the winged tiger god. Are you not afraid of a full-blown war between the 2 continents? I only do what I want to do. Go discuss the safety of the continent with the 10 protector clans and mercenary city. However, you intruded on my Tianyuan continent today. I don't really care about the safety of the continent, but I am still a human Saint Emperor. How can I just watch you foreigners act as you wish on the territory of humans? Now, please leave the continent immediately," said the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. He also understood that if he wanted the winged tiger god, he needed to keep it on the Tianyuan continent first. He would have no chance at all once it ended up on the beast god continent. Kaiser sneered, "Path Lord, you are indeed capable of keeping me busy temporarily, but don't forget that my beast god continent has 3 Saint Emperors." Kaiser then looked toward Sangqiong and said, "Peng Emperor, keep the human Saint Emperor busy. I'll go rescue the winged tiger god. It cannot remain in the hands of the humans no matter what." Sangqiong looked back at Kaiser and said, "I only came with intentions for the origin energy. Unless the winged tiger god is willing himself, I will definitely not be taking it back forcefully, because this is an offense of disrespect toward the beast god." Chapter 981. Resolution. Sangqiong spoke nonchalantly. He felt no fear toward Kaiser, as he was also one of the people in control of the Beast God continent. He controlled a third of the land along with Kaiser and Lankiros. Although some difference in strength existed between the three of them on the Beast God continent, their statuses were the same. Kaiser's face sank as he heard what Sangqiong said. He glared at Sangqiong and said angrily, "Sangqiong, as a part of the Beast God continent, you should be thinking for the Beast God continent. The winged tiger god is the beast god of our continent, so we need to bring it back no matter what. Sangqiong, the winged tiger god has ended up in the hands of humans. It's in danger right now. You're still one of the people in charge of the beast god continent. How can you just watch the winged tiger god be oppressed by humans?" Lankiros said urgently. He was busy with Ruijin and Heiyu right now. He needed to be cautious as he faced the attacks from the origin energy weapons, as it was enough to injure Saint Emperors. Sangqiong did not waver whatsoever and said coldly, "How can it truly grow without experiencing hardships? Not to mention, the winged tiger god is young right now, so it needs to go through these matters to a greater extent. Moreover, the winged tiger god is a beast god. It possesses the body of a beast god, so how can it be injured so easily by others? I will naturally appear to help it when it truly faces danger." With that, Sangqiong stared deeply at the battle between Lankiros and the other two, before directly leaving through a space gate he created. He had returned to the Beast God continent. Sangqiong's departure caused the expressions of Kaiser and Lankiros to both become extremely ugly. They were both busy with the Path Lord of Carnal Desires as well as Ruijin and Heiyu, so they had no extra energy to go capture Jianqin and take the winged tiger god. The experts from Mercenary City and the 10 Protector clans were also spectating the battle from the surroundings. The experts from the Tianyuan continent immediately sighed a breath of relief with the departure of a Saint Emperor from the Beast God continent. With one less Saint Emperor, it was much less pressure. They could devote more energy into dealing with Kaiser and Lankiros. "Guests of the Beast God continent, please return," said the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. Kaiser's eyes flickered for quite a while as he hesitated. He too understood that the two of them were unable to take advantage of the current situation, so he immediately swung his hand. A space gate appeared before him. Then he straightforwardly left through it after he eyed Ruijin and Heiyu coldly. With Kaiser's departure, Lankiros stopped his fight with Ruijin and Heiyu as well. He immediately backpedaled, gazing at Jianqin and the weapons and armor on Ruijin and Heiyu for a while. He said coldly, "I'll let you off for today. Next time, you won't be so lucky." Lankiros also ripped open a space gate and left through it after throwing this threat down. The region of space immediately fell into a temporary silence with the departure of the 3 Saint Emperors. The 3 Saint Emperors had stayed here for less than 10 minutes from arrival till departure. However, everything that had occurred in that short amount of time was enough for people to think about for quite some time. The battle between the Path Lord of Carnal Desires and Kaiser was particularly sensational, shocking everyone present. The strength of the Path Lord's 7 emotions and 6 desires attacks had exceeded everyone's imaginations. Ruijin and Heiyu stowed their weapons away, but remained clad in the origin energy armor. They would rely on the armor to withstand attacks from Saint Emperors. "Human Saint Emperor, our battle has yet to conclude," Ruijin said as he looked at the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. The pearl that could block soul attacks remained floating above them, encasing the two of them with a glimmering light. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires looked at the pearl for a while as a sliver of sternness flashed through the depths of his eyes. He said hoarsely, "Which side do you belong to?" "We are independent. We belong to no side," said Ruijin. A hidden sliver of loneliness flickered through the depths of his eyes, but it disappeared very quickly. "If that's the case, there's no need for us to keep fighting. You can go," said the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. He no longer had any interest in fighting the two of them, because his most powerful attack was not physical but his soul attacks he had created. Now that both Ruijin and Heiyu possessed protective treasures, the pearl for soul attacks and the armor of physical attacks, he could no longer do anything to them. Victory would be difficult to discern even if they kept fighting. Rui Jin and He Yu looked at each other and accepted this outcome. They did not force him to keep battling, also giving up on any intent to keep fighting. Afterward, they both arrived before Jianchen, who seemed to be in a rather horrible shape. Rui Jin asked him, "Brother Jianchen, are you fine?" The expressions of the people from the 10 protector clans changed slightly when they saw that Jianchen actually knew Rui Jin and He Yu. An ill feeling had already begun to loom faintly over their hearts, while the people of the Changyang clan were all delighted. They had personally witnessed Rui Jin and He's strength. Although they were saint kings at great perfection, they were difficult to deal with even when for a saint emperor. Jianchen smiled as he looked at the armored pair. He replied, "I'm fine. Thank you seniors for helping me. It's just a small matter. There's no need to be so polite." He Yu waved a hand and said uncaringly. It seemed like he had done something not worth mentioning. He Yu's attitude warmed Jianchen's heart. He did not think it was a small matter. If it were not for the assistance from He Yu and Rui Jin, he would not have been able to resist at all when faced up against the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. His Octotera Divine Hall would have been destroyed and the White Tiger taken in the end. Even the Saint artifact would not have been enough to protect him. It was extremely likely it would be broken into pieces by the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. Although the artifact spirit possessed the strength of a Saint Emperor inside the artifact space, it was still an auxiliary artifact in the end. It did not possess much battle prowess. Even if the artifact spirit possessed the power of a Saint Empire, it was probably the weakest kind. It was not the Path Lord of Carnal Desires' opponent. The Divine Hall's defenses were equivalent to the Saint artifact. All it could do was block attacks from Saint Kings, and would become damaged once it received attacks on the level of Saint Emperor or even break. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires tightly furrowed his brows when he saw how close Jianchen was with Rui Jin and He Yu. The fact that Jianchen was a member of a protector clan did not scare him. It was Rui Jin and He Yu that pained him greatly. "Crap, I didn't think Jianchen would be so close with the two of them. What do I do now?" And they seem to care very much about the Winged Tiger God. If they take part in protecting the Winged Tiger God, how do I take it from Jianchen? The Path Lord of Carnal Desires thought as he stood still. He glanced toward the 10 protector clans from time to time as the light in his eyes flickered. The people from the protector clans all became uneasy. Light flickered in their eyes, as if they were hesitating something. Only the Changyang clan was ecstatic, to the point where their joy had reached an absolute limit. Meanwhile, the people from the Pure Heart Pavilion remained calm. To them, it was enough as long as the Winged Tiger God did not end up in the hands of the Beast God continent. They did not care at all which protector clan it ended up with. Rui Jin secretly glanced past the people from the protector clans and the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. He said to Jianchen, "Do you have any unfinished business, Brother Jianchen?" Jianchen immediately looked toward the great elders of the Yuan sect when he heard that, before finally shaking his head after hesitating slightly. Rui Jin and He Yu had already helped him enough. They had first saved his life on Dragon Island by helping him avoid the pursuit of the dragon souls, and then helped him retrieve the dragon's saliva. Then, they had helped him stop the Path Lord and the Saint Emperors of the Beast God continent this time. He had owed them enough and did not want to deepen the debt. "Since you've dealt with all your business, let's not stay in outer space anymore and return to the continent," said Rui Jin. Chapter 982, Retaking Flame City. Why, you're actually still alive. How is it possible for you to return alive after the 10 protector clans have personally descended? You're still not dead. How is that possible? The expressions of the saint rulers of the Extinguishing Alliance all changed as they shouted out. They were dumbstruck by the fact that Jianchen had returned safely, overwhelmed with disbelief. Although they did not personally witness the battle that had occurred far away, they still knew about the arrival of the protector clans. According to their understanding, Jianchen should have died at the hands of the protector clans long ago. This made it completely impossible for him to return. They naturally thought that the protector clans had taken the Winged Tiger God from Jianchen in outer space. They imagined that a great battle had erupted as they fought for the Winged Tiger God. They did not anticipate Jianchen's safe return. Jianchen could not help but sneer as he saw the shocked Saint Rulers. Looks like you all would have loved it if I had died, but I'm sorry to disappoint. Not only did I survive, I have returned fine. Even the 10 protector clans can't do anything to me. Impossible, this is impossible. The 10 protector clans are the most powerful organizations on the Tianyuan continent. They're extremely tough, so how can they be helpless against you? Jianchen, did you form some agreement with them? Growled a Saint Ruler. His expression was extremely ugly. Jianchen sneered, you still don't have the right to know about that. Now, it's time for you to pay the price for the idiotic actions you did all those years ago. My flame mercenaries will be retaking Flame City today and no one can stop me. Even the protector clans can't stop me. Jianchen spoke extremely loudly, causing his voice to echo through the surroundings. Everyone in the city heard his words clearly. Immediately, the Extinguishing Alliance began to panic. Fear overwhelmed many people. The people who were originally part of the Flame Mercenaries and had defected to the Extinguishing Alliance began to regret. If they knew that Captain Jianchen would return so powerfully, they would not have changed sides in the very beginning. The Saint Rulers of the Alliance all became sheet white. They had lost all heart to resist after witnessing Jianchen's strength. Even the 5th heavenly layer Saint King, by Yifei, had been slain by him easily. With this being the case, how could they resist with their current strength? Although they possessed a supreme advantage in numbers, the difference between Saint Ruler and Saint King was as large as a chasm. Jianchen, we will immediately lead our people out of Flame City and swear that we will never become enemies of the Flame Mercenaries again, said a Saint Ruler. He had also begun to refer to Extinguished City as Flame City again. You devastated my Flame Mercenaries all those years ago, and occupied Flame City for so much time. Do you really think this matter will be dismissed so easily? You wish, sneered Jianchen as powerful killing intent flickered in his eyes. The Saint Rulers paled even further when they sensed Jianchen's dense killing intent. One of them explained hurriedly, Jianchen, listen to us. The things we did all those years ago were spurred on by Jian. We had no other choice either. The prime culprit is Jian and not us. Jianchen's eyes turned cold. Do you really think I'm easy to fool? As he said that, his emperor armament appeared in his hand. It radiated with a terrifying energy, causing the surrounding space to warp and almost shatter. The Saint Rulers of the Alliance began to panic even more. One of them said, Jianchen, just what do you want to do before you are willing to let us go? You're deluding yourselves if you think I'd let you go. I will be claiming all your lives today, Jianchen said mercilessly. All the Saint Rulers shivered when they heard this. Despair gradually flooded their hearts. One of them was still unwilling to give up and spoke out, Jianchen, if you let me go, I am willing to swear my loyalty to you and become a part of the Flame Mercenaries. I am willing to work for you. Jianchen's expression remained as cold as before. The killing intent in his eyes did not decrease at all as he sneered, so many of my brothers from my Flame Mercenaries died in your hands all those years ago. If you become part of the Flame Mercenaries, not only will I fail to make up to those dead brothers, I'll fail to make up to the people you chased out of Flame City. Only by killing you all can I relieve myself of this rage. The Saint Rulers became completely despaired with that. All of them understood that they would probably face their deaths today now that Jianchen had put things this way. Pay for what your previous actions. Jianchen bellowed. He no longer bothered with them, charging toward the Saint Rulers threateningly as he wielded his emperor armament. Jianchen was as strong as a 7th heavenly layer Saint King with the emperor armament. His strength was not something 20-odd Saint Rulers could fend off. As he stabbed out, he killed off 3 Saint Rulers in a single stroke, directly impaling their foreheads and wiping out their souls. The other Saint Rulers scattered with this ugly development. They fled in all directions as fast as they could in an attempt to keep Jianchen busy and make more time for escape. Although they knew the chances were almost non-existent, this was the only way they could survive. Even if they knew they were going to die, they still needed to try. Jianchen's face sank. Although he had the strength of a Saint King, his comprehension of the mysteries of the world was just too limited. It was only at the level of a 7th heavenly layer Saint Ruler, so he was unable to rip open a space gate and travel a large distance. It would be very difficult for him to catch the Saint Rulers after they had fled into the distance. Jianchen looked back at Ruijin and Heiyu and asked, "Senior Ruijin, please seal this region and stop them from running away." Jianchen needed to kill the Saint Rulers of the Extinguishing Alliance. Only with that could he avenge the Flame Mercenaries. He was unwilling to leave any one of them alive. Ruijin nodded and pointed at the empty air. The energy of the world immediately began to ripple violently, forming a transparent barrier that encased a radius of 5 kilometers. It trapped all the Saint Rulers inside. The Saint Rulers immediately became frantic as they saw how they were trapped inside. They attacked the barrier as if their lives depended on it, wishing to break through and escape. However, a barrier personally cast by Ruijin was nowhere close to something that they could break. It did not even tremble when their most powerful attack struck it. "I'd like to see where you run off to now." Killing intent surged from Jianchen. He collected their lives one by one with the Emperor armament. Although some of them resisted, it was pathetic and of no use whatsoever. In the blink of an eye, the Saint Rulers were all killed by Jianchen. The barrier around the area disappeared and the Saint Ruler corpses all fell out of the air and landed on the ground heavily. Many people from the Alliance witnessed this scene where over 20 Saint Rulers were slain. They all became stunned and despair flooded their gazes. Jianchen's fury finally let up slightly after killing the Saint Rulers. He looked toward the millions of people in the city. After a slight deliberation, he did not attack them in the end. With the growth of his strength, Jianchen's outlook and mental state had also improved. With his current status, he had no need to be petty with the ant-like people before him. There were several million people in the city. If he killed all of them, he would have committed a massacre and suffer the punishment of celestial decay. Existences at Saint Ruler and beyond could not kill ordinary people casually. It was fine if they only killed a few, but if they took the lives of too many, they would suffer celestial decay. The existence of celestial decay restrained Saint Rulers and beyond, protecting weaker groups. However, the slaughter of Saint Rulers and anything greater could not incite celestial decay. "People of the Extinguishing Alliance, leave the city immediately if you want to live," called out Jianchen from the air. The flames of hope immediately reignited among the despaired eyes of the people when they heard this declaration. They were overwhelmed with emotion. Without any hesitation, they tidied their belongings and dragged their families out of Flame City. 2 figures descended from the sky. They were the Grand Elder of Mercenary City, Tianjin, and Houston. The 2 of them watched on with smiles as the people of the Extinguishing Alliance left the city. "Looks like we were just over-worrying. Jianchen has not become blinded by hatred and did not start a massacre in the city," Houston said in relief. "Sigh, Jianchen is still too young after all. Possessing such great strength at such a young age, he'll take the wrong path as soon as he loses control. That will become a misfortune of the continent. But looks like we were indeed over-worrying with everything that has happened so far. Jianchen may be young and may get involved with conflicts as he does things, but he should be fine on the whole," sighed Tianjin. "His strength has grown to an unbelievable level in just a few short years. He's also obtained an Emperor armament and a Divine Hall. He must have been involved in a lot of bloodshed in those years. Once he deals with his matters, I'll get him to settle down in Longevity Valley for 10 years and get him to properly calm down. It'll be helpful to him," said Houston. Another few people descended from the sky. The great elders of the Protector Changyang clan had arrived as a group, floating nearby as they watched Flame City quietly. "Sigh, he still wants to take back the city and develop his own organization. Is this supposed to be a good thing?" Changyang Zhu Shao sighed deeply. He was filled with helplessness. The Protector Changyang clan could no longer control Jianchen. Since Jianchen wanted to take back Flame City and break the rules between the Protector clans, all they could do was stand to one side obediently. They did not dare to get in the way. Changyang Qingyun stared at Jianchen from afar as light flickered in his eyes. "He is a member of our Changyang clan no matter what. This is an unchangeable fact." However, He had left for so long and things had happened to the flame mercenaries. This made him miss Bai Lian and the others very much, so he wanted to go back and see them. Tianjian stared deeply into Jian Chen's eyes before leaving as well. He returned to Mercenary City. The only ones that floated in the air now were Ruijin, He Yu, and Jian Chen, as well the great elders of the Changyang clan. The great elders all cast mixed gazes toward Jian Chen from afar. They originally wanted to saw some things to Jian Chen, but then they thought about what they had said and the choices they made when Jian Chen faced up against the other protector clans. These thoughts shut them up at the same time. Back then, they were indeed afraid of standing with Jian Chen and helping him resist the other protector clans, but they were filled with regret now. If they had known that Jian Chen had the help of Ruijin and He Yu, two experts who could fight Saint Emperors, they would have had no need to fear the other protector clans. Jian Chen arrived before Ruijin and He Yu, thanking them one more time. Afterward, he said, "Senior Ruijin, can you create a space gate that directly leads to the Jessen Kingdom?" Ruijin naturally would not have agreed before because of his status as a Dragon King, but it was different now. He agreed without any hesitation, personally ripping open a region of space to form a space gate. Jian Chen left through the space gate and directly arrived outside Lore City, while Ruijin and He Yu also followed along. They tailed Jian Chen into the city. The great elders watched Jian Chen leave, but none of them said anything. They all knew that Jian Chen did not want to admit himself as a member of the protector Changyang clan. A long while later, Changyang Zhu Shao sighed deeply and said, "Kicking out Changyang Zhu Yunkong all those years ago was a wrong decision. By the look of things, we seem to have made a wrong decision yet again just now." The great elders all stood silently. Changyang Qingyun only spoke out after a while, "Let's go to the Changyang clan of Lore City." Jian Chen's return to the clan resulted in utter joy throughout the entire place. All the elderly and important members came out to welcome him. To no surprise, the people who lead them was Changyang Zhu Yeyun and Changyang Zhu Yunkong. Changyang Zhu Yeyun was deeply grateful toward Jian Chen, so as soon as she met him, she did not try acting superior due to her seniority at all. She grabbed his hands enthusiastically, constantly thanking him. She understood that if it were not for Jian Chen, she probably would not have been able to see her son ever again. Jian Chen learned the woman's identity from Changyang Zhu Yunkong. She was actually his great-grandfather's mother. He was immediately shocked and bowed toward the woman. Jian Chen did not have any good impressions of the protector clan, but she was still the mother of his great-grandfather. "My great-grandson has finally returned. The most outstanding member of my Bai family has finally returned safely," Bai Hai smiled from afar as he watched on. Tears of joy actually ran down his face. Jian Chen's first aunt Ling Long and his second aunt Yu Fengyan also watched on with smiles. They had already began viewing Jian Chen as their own son long ago. Only the third aunt, Bai Yushuang, had mixed emotions as thick envy flooded her eyes. When she saw Jian Chen, she could not help but think of her own son. Jian Chen was now an expert who stood on the apex of the continent and had done great deeds on the continent. Meanwhile, her own son always seemed to be running about without any strength or success. He was now a person in his 30s, yet he had just become a great Saint Master. He had not even reached Earth Saint Master yet. Jian Chen conversed with all the people of the clan for a little, before calling Yu Yu, Bai Lian, and all the members of the upper echelon from the Flame Mercenaries into his temporary residence. After the recent years of development, there were quite a few high-ranking and loyal members. There were more than 40 people present, excluding Yu Yu and Bai Lian. Ever since Flame City had been taken, these people lead a small group of their mercenaries, traveling 100,000 kilometers by foot and horse to arrive at Lore City. Then they finally settled down in the clan. Jian Chen secretly nodded when he saw all the high-ranking members. He said, "Flame City has been retaken from the Extinguishing Alliance. I wonder how the situation of the Flame Mercenaries are right now." The people present immediately became joyful when they heard that Flame City was back in their possession. Yu Yu said, "Jian Chen, after the recent years of development, our mercenaries have reached into the 100,000s in terms of numbers. Many Heaven Saint Masters joined us and our strength increased every day. However, Ever since the battle with the Extinguishing Alliance, our group has basically collapsed. People left and dispersed. There are only several tens of thousands of people that are hell-bent on following us. Several tens of thousand. Jian Chen furrowed his brows. The number was much lower than he had anticipated. It seemed like the Extinguishing Alliance had indeed caused unbelievable damage to the Flame Mercenaries. Jian Chen stood up from his seat and said, "Since there are still this many people who are loyal and are hell-bent on being a part of the Flame Mercenaries, raise them as elites. Also, lead the remaining members of the Flame Mercenaries back to Flame City tomorrow. We will be reoccupying Flame City and reviving the Flame Mercenaries." Just as Jian Chen was discussing the plans for development with them, the great elders from the Protector Changyang clan arrived. They immediately called Changyang Zhu Yunkong into a room all by himself, discussing some secret things with him. The entire room was enveloped in a powerful barrier, so no one knew what was happening inside. Jian Chen naturally sensed their arrival, so he could not help but pause the discussion about the Flame Mercenaries. His eyes began to flicker as he became suspicious. The great elders did not talk for very long with Changyang Zhu Yunkong before they emerged from the room. They did not stay, immediately ripping open a space gate and returning to the Protector clan. Only Changyang Zhu Yunshao stayed behind, his face filled with helplessness. Jian Chen discussed with the upper echelon for 2 whole hours before finally handing over the matters for the future developments of the mercenaries. Then he exited the room. Outside, Changyang Zhu Yunshao and Changyang Zhu Yin had waited for a very long time. As they watched Jian Chen walk out, their gazes became mixed with emotions. Jian Chen no longer looked toward Changyang Zhu Yunshao as coldly as before. He had learned exactly what had happened all those years ago when the Extinguishing Alliance took Flame City from Yu Yu and Bai Lian. He knew that it was all because of Changyang Zhu Yunshao that they could arrive back at Lore City safely. If it were not for him, they probably would not have been able to get past Bai Jian. "Jian Chen, we want to talk about some matters with you in private," Changyang Zhu Yunshao said softly. "Is it about my identity?" "If that's the case, there's no need," replied Jian Chen. Changyang Zhu Yunshao sighed gently and continued, "Jian Chen, you've guessed half of it. This matter doesn't just affect your identity, it affects your great-grandfather as well. It affects his future." Chapter 984. Tip of the iceberg. Jian Chen's gaze immediately froze when he heard that it would relate to his great-grandfather Changyang Zhu Yunkong's future. He could disregard the Protector clan, but in no way could he just ignore his great-grandfather. Only Jian Chen understood just how much agony his great-grandfather had suffered in the past years. He had essentially lived a life where he would much rather be dead back on Three Saint Island. Jian Chen followed the couple into a room and Changyang Zhu Yunshao personally cast down a barrier. Jian Chen's heart immediately shivered when he saw how cautious Changyang Zhu Yunshao was acting. He now understood that what they were about was going to be quite significant. With the barrier set down, Changyang Zhu Yunshao and Changyang Zhu Yun crossed their legs and sat down before Jian Chen. The two of them looked at Jian Chen with extremely mixed gazes. This was the first time they had ever needed to treat a junior as an equal despite their statuses. Jian Chen sat down on the cold floor as well and looked at the couple calmly. He did not try to initiate the conversation. Changyang Zhu Yunshao could only break the silence himself given that Jian Chen was unwilling. He coughed twice and said, "Is your name Jian Chen, or is it Changyang Xiangtian?" "Great-grandfather, you should call me Jian Chen. I like that name very much, and I've used it for so long already. I don't want to change it back," Jian Chen said with no further consideration. Changyang Zhu Yunshao was Changyang Zhu Yunkong's father, so he was Jian Chen's senior by countless generations. As they were all his senior, Jian Chen just referred to them as great-grandfather or great-grandmother. Changyang Zhu Yunshao sucked in a deep breath and said helplessly, "All right, then I'll call you Jian Chen." He paused slightly there, before continuing, "Jian Chen, the reason why I've asked to talk to you this time is actually in regards to your great-grandfather Changyang Zhu Yunkong. You should know about the seal in his head, right?" Jian Chen nodded his head but said nothing. He waited for Changyang Zhu Yunshao to continue. A sliver of pain appeared on Changyang Zhu Yunshao's face as he said, "Back then, Yun Kong was expelled from our clan as he had committed a grave mistake, and a seal was implanted into his head, preventing him from reaching Saint Ruler for the rest of his life as a punishment. Originally, it would have been impossible for Yun Kong to return to our clan again, but this changed 10 years ago. Due to some reasons, the great elders of our clan removed Yun Kong's punishment together and allowed him back into the clan. He has become a member of the Protector clan again. Changyang Zhu Yunxiao paused once again as he stared deeply into Jian Chen's eyes. He said, "Jian Chen, do you know why the great elders were willing to remove Yun Kong's punishment and let him back into the clan?" Jian Chen replied after coming to a realization, "If I've guessed correctly, it's related to the fact that the winged tiger god was with me. If I became a member of the Protector clan, the winged tiger god would also belong to the Changyang clan." "Correct, it was indeed because of you. Your existence brought hope to Yun Kong's situation," said Changyang Zhu Yunxiao. He purposefully avoided the matter of the winged tiger god. But the seal remains in Yun Kong's head even though clan has re-accepted him. Yun Kong may be a saint ruler now, but his strength can no longer increase due to the seal. Jian Chen, you're still Yun Kong's descendant in the end. Do you really want to watch your great-grandfather stagnate at the first heavenly layer for the rest of his life? I hope you can help your great-grandfather and get the seal in his head removed. Changyang Zhu Yunxiao's voice made it seem like he was pleading. Even though Jian Chen was a member of a younger generation, Yunxiao could not forcibly order him to do anything. "What do you need me to do? What are the conditions the Protector clans are asking for to remove great-grandfather's seal?" Jian Chen asked. Jian Chen already had some understanding toward the seal in Changyang Zhu Yunkong's head. It was cast down by several saint kings of the Protector clan through a secret technique. Not only was it extremely powerful, it was extremely profound as well, such that even the artifact spirit could do nothing about it. Saint emperors could forcefully break through it, but that would definitely harm Changyang Zhu Yunxiao. It would probably lead to his death if it was forcefully removed. The only way to undo it without injuring anyone was to use the matching secret technique. Changyang Zhu Yunxiao said, "The other great elders of the Protector clan have spoken. They said that if you want the seal removed, Yun Kong must do something great for the clan to make up for what he did all those years ago. And this thing would be having you return to the Protector clan." Jian Chen's face sank slightly and a cold smile formed on his lips. He said, "So that's really the case. I thought that the Protector clans would do something like this. Probably getting me to return is just a cover. Their true intentions should be taking the winged tiger god." "Jian Chen, I know you have a bad impression of the Protector clans, but with your current strength, we no longer have the right to make you do anything you don't want to do. The great elders have formed an agreement over this. We can give up on the winged tiger god, as well as assist you in holding off the other Protector clans, but only given that you are a member of the Protector clan," said Changyang Zhu Yunxiao. "I can already hold off the other Protector clans by myself. I don't need the Protector clan's help," said Jian Chen. "Sigh, Jian Chen, you think of the Protector clans too simply. I know you have a divine hall protecting you, and that anything below a saint emperor can't injure you. However, your divine hall is not impossible to crush before the Protector clans. If it weren't for the obstruction of the Grand Elder of Mercenary City in the battle today, your divine hall probably would have been smashed to pieces by the Yuan sect already," said Changyang Zhu Yunxiao. Jian Chen began to recollect as he heard that. He could not help but think back to when the great elders of the Yuan sect mentioned the emperor armament. However, before he could ask about it, Changyang Zhu Yunxiao had already begun to explain. Every clan of the 10 Protector clans has a single emperor armament. These emperor armaments have an extremely lengthy history. They have existed since the 10 clans were established, all the way until now. These emperor armaments exceed anything that you can imagine in strength, because they were forged together by several dozen or even over 100 saint emperors. It is one of the 2 supreme treasures of every Protector clan. We, the Protector clans, have an extremely lengthy history on the Tianyuan continent. There always used to be a saint emperor appearing in virtually every generation. In our most glorious times, the Changyang clan had a total of 8 saint emperors at the same time. We possessed supreme power. However, after some changes to the world due to some unknown reasons, it became harder and harder to break through for everyone. Not only was the Tianyuan continent affected, even the Beast God continent and the Wasteland continent inhabited by the 100 races were affected. In the end, Saint Emperors finally stopped appearing in the 10 protector clans. In the past, we once had most of our Saint Emperors pour all their strength, as well as their vital essences, into the Emperor armament when they reached the end of their life. This allowed the Emperor armament to constantly power up. Our Emperor armaments are only able to be so unbelievably powerful today due to all those Saint Emperors. They're far greater than the Emperor armament you currently possess, so your divine hall can't resist any one of the Emperor armaments from the protector clans. Jianchen became slightly grim and said, "Looks like the Yuan sect wanted to use their Emperor armament to deal with me." Correct. The Yuan sect indeed wanted to use their Emperor armament, but the Grand Elder of Mercenary City stopped them. "If it weren't for that, your divine hall would be in pieces by now," said Changyang Zhu Yunxiao. However, the Emperor armaments are just too powerful. Even Saint Kings at great perfection will struggle to control it, so it can only be used when several Saint Kings work together, and they will all suffer a backlash. Even Saint Kings at great perfection will be injured from the backlash after using it, so the Emperor armament has already become a forbidden weapon of our protector clans. It can only be used to repel foreign invasions or when the protector clans face life-threatening dangers. It's their last line of defense. Jianchen immediately fell silent after hearing that. Only now did he learn that the protector clans were not as simple as he had imagined. They actually possessed such terrifying weapons. If it were not for Tianjian earlier today, his Octaterra Divine Hall would have definitely been crushed even though he might not die. Changyang Zhu Yunxiao continued as he looked at the silent Jianchen. "Jianchen, you should return to the Changyang clan. Once you embrace your ancestry, you will be a part of the protector clan. The Changyang clan will definitely help out if the people of the Yuan sect still want to use the Emperor armament against you. We can find ways to persuade the other protector clans in regards to the flame mercenaries." Changyang Zhu Yunxiao's voice was hopeful. Changyang Zhu Yun also began to speak. "Jianchen, great-grandmother knows that you dislike our Changyang clan, but we hope you can consider things for Kong. It'll all be depending on you if Konger's seal can be removed and if he can climb to higher levels of cultivation in the future." Changyang Zhu Yun spoke with a pleading tone. Jianchen could not help but hesitate. This matter directly affected his great-grandfather Changyang Zhu Yunkong, so he needed to think over it seriously. No other person could remove Changyang Zhu Yunkong's seal other than the protector Changyang clan after all. This included Saint Emperors. Jianchen nodded in agreement in the end after much hesitation. He said, "All right, I'll return to the protector clan with you so that my great-grandfather can cultivate again. However, now's not the time. Let me deal with my matters first." Changyang Zhu Yunxiao and Changyang Zhu Yiyun immediately became delighted when they heard that. They became emotional. Jianchen and the couple left the room after the discussion. They saw Rui Jin and He Yu waiting outside as soon as they exited. Changyang Zhu Yunxiao's gaze underwent some changes as soon as he saw the two of them. It was replaced by some respect toward the powerful. The two people before him were so powerful that even the Path Lord of Carnal Desires and the Tiger Emperor Lankiros could not defeat them. Even the protector clans could not afford to offend them. "Senior Rui Jin and He Yu, is there something you need?" Jianchen asked. "Nah, it's nothing. We're just standing around so that the people from the protector clans can't oppress you," smiled He Yu. He was extremely friendly toward Jianchen. Chapter 985. Yangzi's ambush. Changyang Zhu Yunxiao naturally became delighted when he saw how He Yu treated Jianchen. As his own great-grandson and a descendant of the Changyang clan, he obviously hoped that Jianchen could be as close to Rui Jin and He Yu as possible. That way, the Changyang clan could benefit from them as well. Jianchen's heart warmed from He Yu's concern. He said to the two of them, "Seniors, my Changyang clan eagerly welcomes the two of you as guests. If you like it here, why don't you stay for a few more days?" He Yu looked at Rui Jin after hearing that, before smiling at Jianchen once again. "We really did consider that. We just don't happen to have a place to stay on the Tianyuan continent, so we might as well just settle down in your Changyang clan. We do hope that it won't be troublesome for you." Jianchen was completely delighted with that. The Changyang clan could be considered as impregnable now that the two of them had settled down here. Even if the protector clans came personally, they would fail to gain any advantages over the clan. "Don't say that. It is my honor that the two seniors are willing to settle down in my humble abode. I can't welcome you two enough, so how can it be troublesome?" Jianchen said hurriedly. He was extremely happy inside. Changyang Zhu Yunshao also became delighted. He quickly added some polite words. Only Changyang Zhu Yeyun, who did not know Rui Jin and He Yu's strength, remained doubtful. However, she could guess that the two of them were definitely not simple, seeing how her husband treated the pair. Afterward, Jianchen quickly ordered the mercenaries in the clan to organize the best courtyard for Rui Jin and He Yu, allowing the two of them to settle down. However, Jianchen still felt suspicious throughout this entire time. He was not very close with Rui Jin or He Yu. He could barely even describe them as chance acquaintances, so he had no idea why Rui Jin and He Yu would continue to help him regardless of the consequences. Not only did they become enemies of the Path Lord of Carnal Desires and the Saint Emperors of the Beast God continent, the two of them actually waited outside when he spoke with Changyang Zhu Yunshao just earlier. Jianchen was very surprised by this. Even when ignoring their great strength, just Rui Jin's status as a Dragon King made him countless times more prestigious than Jianchen. Is it because of the winged tiger god that Rui Jin and He Yu are extremely willing to help me and even protect me? Do they only want to protect the winged tiger god? Jianchen thought. He felt like this was more and more possible, so he relieved himself of his doubt afterward. In the morning of the next day, many unfamiliar guests had gathered outside the Changyang clan of Lore City. They all walked to the main entrance of the clan with invaluable gifts, before politely communicating with the guards outside. However, Tianmu Ling was nowhere near as calm as she seemed on the surface. Her heart had already begun to churn long ago. She was definitely not calm. Back then, she was still someone who had the same level of cultivation as Jianchen, also taking part in the gathering of mercenaries. She was part of the 5 experts. There was a slight difference between their strength, but it was nothing that could not be made up for. Yet now, Jianchen had become a supreme expert, standing as an equal to the ancestor of her clan. Many Saint King ancestors from other ancient clans had also personally come to visit, treating him extremely politely and courteously. It was glorious for him. On the other hand, she was still an Earth Saint Master. She had improved greatly throughout the years as well, but the difference between her and Jianchen was now at a dumbfounding level. The difference could be analogized as the sky and the earth. Tianmu Ling experienced extremely mixed emotions currently. She felt indescribably envious of Jianchen's current achievements, but she also felt a sliver of admiration. Sigh, back then he was on the same level as me, yet now he has become something that I can only look up to but never match. Tianmu Ling sighed inside. Haha, I never thought my friend Jianchen here would know my great-granddaughter. It really is her honor. The Saint King ancestor from the Tianmu clan immediately began to laugh from the bottom of his heart as he saw how close Tianmu Ling was with Jianchen. The next day, the guests from the ancient clans all left. Afterward, even more ancestors from hermit clans paid a visit with valuable gifts. Jianchen allowed Changyang Zhu Yunkong and Bai Hai to receive them, while he himself did not make an appearance. Instead, he left the clan all by himself and traveled toward Mercenary City. At the same time, the remaining members of the Flame Mercenaries left Lore City under the lead of the high-ranking members, forming a huge group that they traveled toward Flame City. Jianchen left the Jessen Kingdom all by himself as he made his way toward Mercenary City. He was happy but also felt some mixed emotions. He was now a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master, so he could revive the dead. He could bring back his parents. Jianchen became uncontrollably excited when he thought about how his parents would be soon revived. He had waited for this day for far too long. Something suddenly happened as Jianchen was thinking about his parents. The space around him froze up in that instant, immobilizing him tightly. Jianchen was surprised by the sudden occurrence, and the random thoughts in his head disappeared in that instant. He looked forward and produced a shocking glare. A ruddy old man had appeared at some point in time in the direction of Jian Chen's sight. He floated 50 meters before Jian Chen, staring at him coldly. "It's actually you, Yangzi of the Yuan sect," called out Jian Chen. Chapter 986. Rui Jin's assistant Yangzi was extremely powerful. He was the most powerful member of the Yuan sect, having reached the great perfection of Saint King long ago. The space personally frozen by him was extremely tough, trapping Jian Chen tightly in place. Yangzi's finger drew extremely close to Jian Chen. In this moment of life and death, Jian Chen roared out angrily and chaotic force trembled within his body. In the end, it flowed out like a flood, surrounding his body with black flames. Immediately, an energy of destruction filled the surroundings, causing the clouds to churn. The terrifying energy ripples expanded in all directions, causing even the surrounding space to shake. Crack, crack. Under Jian Chen's full-powered resistance, Yangzi's frozen space immediately shattered, causing the space around him to tremble constantly. However, since Yangzi was brave enough to attack Jian Chen, he had naturally timed himself extremely accurately. He did not give Jian Chen any time to bring out the divine hall. Just as Jian Chen broke free, the finger from Yangzi was already less than 3 inches from Jian Chen's forehead. It continued toward his soul with an incomparable speed. Jian Chen's eyes suddenly narrowed. He was completely unprepared, making him fall into the jaws of danger. He had been thinking about his parents earlier and did not expect someone as honorable as a member of the Protector Yuan sect would attack him while he was off guard. Although he had the divine hall that could protect him, he had no time to bring it out this time. In this moment of life and death, a golden streak of light shot out from the center of his eyebrows with a flash. It formed a fist-sized golden tower, blocking Jian Chen's forehead. Boom! Yangzi's attack struck the golden tower viciously, immediately producing a deafening boom. It echoed in the surroundings, spreading far and wide while the residual energy swept out in all directions as a terrifying storm. The surrounding space constantly shook due to it. Jian Chen's clothes were immediately reduced to shreds by the violent energy storm, revealing the golden silk mail. At the same time, he was knocked backward. Jian Chen shot backward like a cannonball as chaotic force constantly circulated within his body. He pushed his chaotic body to the absolute limit in an attempt to resist the energy storm, while the golden tower remained floating before him. It was ready to block Yangzi's attacks at any time. Yangzi stared at Jian Chen throughout the whole process. His face could not help but sink as he watched the golden tower block his attack. He growled, "I didn't think you'd have the saint artifact of the Radiant Saint Master Union protecting you as well other than the Divine Hall. I really have miscalculated." He took a step out as soon as he finished speaking, crossing through the region of violent energy and arriving behind Jian Chen in an instant. He pointed toward the back of Jian Chen's head this time. Jian Chen's presence had flooded the region long ago, so he clearly sensed Yangzi's movement. Under the control of his mind, the golden tower immediately moved to protect the back of his head. At the same time, he grabbed the Octaterra Divine Hall with his right hand. "Jian Chen, you're dead now." Suddenly, Yangzi's sneer rang through Jian Chen's ears. He had appeared silently to Jian Chen's left, pointing toward his head in a flash. However, there was still a Yangzi behind him. Jian Chen's face changed. He could feel the Yangzi behind him, but the Yangzi to his left of him was real as well. 2 Yangzis had suddenly appeared, shocking him greatly. Jian Chen had still yet to completely expand the Divine Hall. He used the Saint artifact to block the attack from the Yangzi behind him, but he was powerless against the second Yangzi's attack. In this crucial moment, all he could do was turn his head as hard as he could in an attempt to dodge the life-threatening attack from the second Yangzi. Jian Chen failed to dodge the attack completely even after using all he had. However, since he moved his head, Yangzi's attack missed his soul and struck his face instead. It cut through his chaotic body easily. Jian Chen's heart immediately shuddered coldly when he sensed Yangzi's attack enter his body. The attack possessed great energy. If it erupted, it was enough to blow his head into pieces. At that time, he would be heavily injured even if he managed to survive. Without any hesitation, Jianchen basically threw his head backward, breaking away from Yangzi's attack. Afterward, he backpedaled quickly and the Octotera Divine Hall flew out of his hand at the same time. It quickly enlarged above his head. The second Yangzi slowly disappeared. The remaining Yangzi looked at Jianchen's injuries with regret. He thought, "It's a pity that my control over the clone isn't great, or that attack would have taken his life." Jianchen immediately tried to enter the Divine Hall as he paid no heed to his wound. Yangzi's eyes immediately turned cold as he sensed Jianchen's intentions. He called out loudly, "Don't you dare enter the Divine Hall." The distance between them was nothing to Yangzi. He took a step out and immediately traveled several dozen meters, arriving in between Jianchen and the Divine Hall. He swung downward with a palm strike, wanting to prevent Jianchen from entering the Divine Hall. Jianchen understood Yangzi's strength, so he did not want to take him on forcefully at all. The Saint Artifact blocked the attack. Although Jianchen could hide inside the Saint Artifact, he would lose the ability to flee. This was because Yangzi could take the artifact back to his protector clan and then use the clan's emperor armament to crack it open. As a result, Jianchen could only use the Saint Artifact to block things. He could not hide in it like the Divine Hall. Yangzi's palm strike was so powerful that Jianchen was knocked far away along with the Saint Artifact. It widened his distance from the Divine Hall. Jianchen became extremely grim as he saw how he got further from the Divine Hall. With a thought, he quickly pulled it toward him. "Jianchen, with me present, I'd like to see how you enter the Divine Hall," sneered Yangzi. He stepped out and arrived before Jianchen again, striking out with his palm. The great force knocked both Jianchen and the Saint Artifact backward once more. He remained a certain distance from the Divine Hall in the end. An extremely great killing intent appeared in the surroundings in that moment, making Yangzi's expression change. Following this presence, a voice boomed out loudly, "I never thought that an esteemed great elder of a protector clan would ambush a junior here. Is this how the protector clans do things? I've finally witnessed it today." As the voice boomed out, the space 100 meters away began to ripple. Energy filled the empty space and a space gate opened with difficulty as it resisted the messy collisions of energy in the region. Two tremendous presences began to radiate from within it. Yangzi's expression changed drastically. He was extremely familiar with these two presences, as they belonged to the two experts who could fight even-handedly with the Path Lord of Carnal Desires and the Tiger Emperor. They were Ruijin and Heiyu. Yangzi was confident, but he did not believe that he was their opponent. Without any hesitations, he struck toward the forming space gate with a palm and shattered it. "Do you think you can stop me from coming just because you destroyed my space gate?" An angry roar boomed from afar. The voice constantly grew louder and by the time it reached Jianchen's location, it had become thunderous. Ruijin used a secret technique as he flew over from Lore City with incredible speed. From afar, a dazzling streak of golden light quickly approached the region, and a tremendous presence arrived with it. Yangzi became unprecedentedly stern as he watched Ruijin rapidly draw closer. His eyes became filled with deep fear. He knew that he had to leave now or he would be stuck here. Yangzi looked at Jianchen sternly and gnashed his teeth. "Jianchen, I'll let you off today and let you live for a few more days." Yangzi immediately ripped open a space gate after saying that. He wanted to leave. Jianchen drew his emperor armament from his space ring and chopped out toward the space gate with a sword chi. He wanted to stop Yangzi from fleeing. Yangzi smiled disdainfully. He gently extended a finger and a force shot out, shattering Jianchen's sword chi. He said coldly, "You truly overestimate yourself by trying to stop me from leaving with just yourself." With that, Yangzi directly disappeared through the space gate. Ruijin arrived very quickly. He looked toward the bloody-faced Jianchen and immediately became furious. He asked with concern, "Brother Jianchen, are you fine?" Jianchen's gaze was cold. He put away the Octotera Divine Hall and the Saint Artifact. Then he shook his head gently. "I'm fine. I thank Senior for arriving in time and thus scaring away Yangzi. Otherwise, there would have only been death for me today. Rui Jin looked in the direction that Yangzi had fled and growled. The protector clans have gone too far. Even people of such status are trying to ambush you here. Let's go, brother Jianchen. Hey, you and I'll kill our ways into the protector clan with you and get you the justice you deserve, Rui Jin said righteously. He was extremely angry, as if he would not be satisfied if he did not throw the protector clan into turmoil. Senior, I am extremely grateful for your help, but I will be personally taking revenge for this, Jianchen said with a dark face as blood continued to flow. Afterward, Heiyu hurried over as well. He stood angrily beside Rui Jin and also swore to take revenge for Jianchen, to turn the Yuan sect into a mess. However, he was declined by Jianchen tactfully. This was because Jianchen had already learned from Changyang Zhu Yunshao just what power the protector clans were hiding. Their emperor armaments possessed the power of saint emperors. Jianchen did not want the two of them to take the risk even though they were powerful and had the origin energy armors. Also, Rui Jin and Heiyu had helped him many times already along the way. He did not want to always be indebted to them. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.